So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to round 3 of the Irish Drift Series live from Watergrasshill here at Adventure Park. As we said, Mike, halfway through the season, 3 drivers have announced themselves as top contenders to take home the 2025 Pro Championship title. Dwayne McKeever, Japanese driver Ryusei Akiba, and Harry Kerr, 3 drivers on a charge, but maybe not the qualifying session that those 3 drivers were hoping for when they left their homes and prepared themselves for the long trip to Cork here this weekend. But what about that qualifying run? Jason McInerney nailing the qualifying top of the order with a 92. He has set himself out as the early one to watch, but can he maintain his composure? Just looking through the battle sheet, Michael, he actually has a reasonably favourable, if there's such a thing, corner of the bracket that he's in. If he can take down Johnny Flynn, it'll either be Dean Byrne or Adrian Wheatley. Ben Rogers and Damien McKernan also in that corner. Enda Lyons and Alex Butler. But look at this. On the opposite side of the bracket, Dwayne McKeever, Jack Caldwell, Harry Kerr, Gary Dunn, Daryl Barnett, all in the same corner. That is absolutely stacked.
It is indeed, Eddie, yeah. Well, you know what? In Irish drifting, there's pretty much no easy battle corner of the bracket. These days, no matter where you are in the bracket, you are coming up against some serious competition, that's for sure. But as you mentioned there, maybe not the qualifying session that our big 3 would have expected or wanted. Dwayne McKeever pulled it out of the bag at the end with the big score there, the 90. But Ryusei Akiba is the driver who seems to be struggling out of these 3, Eddie. And we touched on the track knowledge there, maybe. Hopefully he can get it together for himself. He's made a huge trip. He's come from pretty much the other side of the world to compete here in the IDS with us. But getting caught out by that entry, and if that happens in either the lead or the chase position, we could see one of our top 3 out in top 32 action.
Well, interestingly enough, we spoke to some drivers in the break in the action, and some of them saying not as much grip as they expected through that first corner. Will they make the necessary adjustments? But quite interestingly, the sun is starting to come out, the temperatures are starting to soar here in County Cork. Perfect conditions, you'd say, for drifting, but will that potentially catch out the drivers again if they've made adjustments to their setups in anticipation of not having a whole lot of grip through that first corner? Could they now be faced with a grippier section of the circuit than they first anticipated? Well, we are almost ready to go here to kick off our top 32 battles. It will be our top qualifier taking on our 32 place qualifier, Jason McInerney, to lead in Johnny Flynn.
Yeah, ready to go for battle action here, guys, at IDS round 3. It's all about the kick-off. This is what it's all about. This is what the weekend has been leading up to. It's pro battle action here at round 3 of our national championship. And top qualifier Jason McInerney leads in the man from Mayo, Johnny Flynn.
Yeah, the Mayo Menace looking to try and take down the highest qualifier. And right now, Mike, he is absolutely dooring Jason McInerney as he just backs off a little bit to allow McInerney make the transition.
Oh, big lock up from Johnny Flynn.
But yeah, as you say, Mike, locking up there does Johnny Flynn. And now starts to wash wide. It's starting to fall apart here for Johnny Flynn. See, once again, Mike, a near perfect lead line here from Jason McInerney.
Yeah, Jason McInerney putting down that quintessential qualifying line as both drivers cross the line and we're into battle action. Crowd loving that one, guys. We are in it for pro battle action here at IDS.
Judges, crowd, you and me, Mike, everybody enjoying that one. And you can see, look, that early aggression if you're watching on the live stream at home there from Johnny Flynn. But he does back out and just locks up those front wheels to try and scrub that wheel. Quite a sizable mistake for Johnny Flynn.
Big disadvantage for Flynn, I would say, because of that lock-up. He was actually in a great position up to that point, Ed.
He certainly was, but here's the problem now, Mike. He's been given a perfect lead line to chase. He's now he hasn't produced the perfect line himself in qualifying, so he's going to have to find a really, really strong lead run. It's going to need to be the biggest run, the best run of the day that he's put in to try and secure a spot in the top 16. But it's a heavy deficit, you'd feel, to try and overcome here. To take down our highest qualifier, Jason McInerney, who just seems to have that E36 2JZ powered on absolute rails.
He does, but we haven't really seen a whole pile of McInerney chasing so far today. I didn't spot him in practice so much, so it's still all to play for, I would say. Flynn at a disadvantage, but maybe not a huge one, to be honest. It was a lock-up, it was a mistake, but I would say it's maybe a good 7-3 to McInerney in all scoring. So it is all to play for, and Johnny Flynn will lead us in now. Of course, you swap them around. Lead becomes chase, and Johnny Flynn, the plumber from Mayo, leads us in, chased closely by Jason McInerney, the Clareman. Big gap opening up here, Eddie.
Yeah, pulls the gap nice and early. And, oh, look at this from McInerney. Gets a wheel up onto the curb. Starts to lose more ground now. And could this be an opportunity?
Whoa!
Oh, look at the dive there from McInerney. Manages to scrub the speed. But the early mistakes, Mike, have left the door wide open for Johnny Flynn to lay down a perfect line here in the lead position. Could we see him overturn the disadvantage that he was on from the first run to now take an opportunity and get himself into the top 16? Flynn goes across the line. McInerney follows in suit. Big errors from both drivers on both runs, but what a way to kick off our top 32. Guys, give it up for Johnny Flynn and Jason McInerney.
Yeah, crowd loving that one, and we're loving it as well, Eddie. Great battle there to get us kicked off for top 32 action. Both drivers out of the car. We were speaking with Jason there briefly in the pits. He was absolutely psyched. He was absolutely psyched after his qualifying session. So double checking out that Johnny Flynn isn't leaking anything too serious here on track. It might be just coolant, hopefully. Hoping it's not oil, definitely, but it looks like steam coming from that car there, of course. As we always mention, these cars under a lot of stress, Eddie, as we wait for the judges to make their decision final.
Well, big mistakes, Mike, on both runs. So you'd wonder, could we potentially be looking down the barrel of a one more time, or will there be bigger mistakes on one side that the judges can call a winner?
Yeah, of course, there was a definite lack of proximity there from McInerney in the chase, Eddie, on the in the second run of that battle there, and he definitely did find the door with that huge dive into the first hairpin, but I thought that maybe Flynn was after doing enough in the lead position to maybe make up for that mistake that he had in the first run. Well, the scores and the judges have dropped in a result, and it's an upset. It's Johnny Flynn goes through to the top 16. Jason McInerney bowing out the first place qualifier, looking so good in qualifying, but unfortunately for him, Johnny Flynn having enough there to just overturn that disadvantage on the first one and progress to the top 16.
Well, there you go. Huge surprise, you'd say, based on qualifying. Jason McInerney, our highest qualifier. Johnny Flynn just slipping in, but it's never over till it's over. And unfortunately for Jason McInerney, just getting that entry all wrong, and the bigger mistakes being weighed on Johnny Flynn's side. On Jason McInerney's side, rather. And Johnny Flynn is our first driver into the top 16. We go back to the start line. Dean Byrne qualifying in 16th position. Adrian Wheatley qualifying in 17th. They go head-to-head. Two mid-pack drivers. Who's going to take it through to the top 16 to face off against Johnny Flynn? Well, we are almost ready to go as we just wait to get those final orders from the marshals. We just need to put a little bit of an eye over the track. There's some, as we say, some fluids leaking from Johnny Flynn's car. So marshals just taking a moment just to clean that up. But Mike, you were speaking to the judges there. Johnny Flynn getting the call there. Yeah,
Johnny Flynn getting the call. Kieran Hines just explaining it to me there. And overall, it's basically McInerney had a couple of mistakes and didn't have a lot of proximity on the way into the first corner. Johnny Flynn actually got a 6-4 in the second run there. And the judges not deeming that lock-up as a huge mistake. It was quite even on the first one. And a couple of mistakes from McInerney as well. And the lack of proximity then being the deciding factor, I believe. So good overturn there from Johnny Flynn. Leaves half his coolant out on the track. Hopefully he gets that sorted. But as we always say, Eddie, these cars are extremely stressed.
You'd think a plumber would have a better plumbed car, wouldn't you?
You would, wouldn't you? Exactly, yeah. He might want to ring someone for that one. Someone else. Someone that's good at it.
Someone else, yeah. Someone that knows what they're talking about.
We can't do the early bath.
Poor Johnny, we give him an awful hard time.
We do, but he loves it. He's a good sport, is Johnny. And we can't use the early bath joke either for Johnny Flynn now because he's gone to the top 16, so he won't be having an early bath.
Well, you know, we talk about Johnny Flynn. He's had a lot of bad luck, Mike, and he needed that little turn of fortune. And you know what? Maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's the little spark that might reignite his run at a champ. Maybe not a championship.
Relight his fire.
Relight his fire, and just get him back on a forward trajectory, an upward trajectory, I suppose.
Indeed. So next on the line, as we get the track cleaned, just to speak about our next battle, it is none other than Adrian Wheatley against Dean Byrne. On paper, it is the closest battle you can have in the top 32 based on qualifying results. It's 16th versus 17th. Byrne very slightly the higher qualifier there. And Adrian Wheatley mentioning there, Eddie, as we were down on track, that there's actually less grip than what she thought there in the first corner. So these track conditions and that difficult entry in Watergrasshill catching a lot of drivers out.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Mike, with the sun coming out, you know, we're moving through the day. Naturally, the day gets that little bit warmer, track conditions get warmer, but here we go. Dean Byrne, the higher qualifier, to lead in Adrian Wheatley. Who's going to take that spot in the top 16? Adrian Wheatley getting gapped down the straight. Dean Byrne not on the perfect line as Adrian just washes a little bit, but gets back in it, but she has a lot of work to do here as Dean Byrne so fast through the circuit, sets that car up to be super grippy. Does come off the line ever so slightly though, as Adrian now finds her way back into this one, starts to get a little bit of proximity, but she's going to need to put some big pressure on Dean Byrne to try and force a mistake through the latter stages of this run if she's going to have any hopes of taking a slight advantage into the second half of this one. And I think you'd have to say advantage Dean Byrne. Yeah, advantage Byrne, I would say. Loving his driving style always, but you know, Adrian, not a bad job from Adrian either there, keeping herself in the fight. Maybe not a great proximity, to be fair. She definitely got left behind a little bit on the first corner there, but you know what, she's not out of the battle yet, and it's still all to play for. As we saw yesterday, we actually saw a couple of tin zeros overturned yesterday. You never know in drifting, anything can happen. Yeah, that's exactly it, Mike. You know, there's it's 2 runs, and particularly on a tricky track like this, I mean, I don't think I've watched anybody do 2 back-to-back consistent runs around this circuit, and I think it's very rare that you could say that on any competition track that we would face on the calendar. So Watergrasshill, while it looks simple, it can throw up a number of challenges for the drivers, particularly that entry. It is just knife edge. It is, and we even saw Dwayne McKeever essentially not putting in a great first qualifying run, and he took it quite tentative on his second run, Eddie, if you remember, even though he did score 90, but he was still not doing a Dwayne McKeever run. So this track is commanding the respect of the drivers. As we swap them over, now lead becomes chase. We're going to do it again, and let's see who takes this battle. Adrian Wheatley looking, I would say, for her first pro battle win, Eddie. I do believe. Or did she? No, she actually won at round 2. Yeah, she got a top 16. Yeah, 16, so. Yeah, sorry. Right, so Adrian Wheatley leads us in, flicks into Sylvia. It is S chassis versus S chassis. S13 versus S13. Dean Byrne definitely with the better proximity compared to Adrian's in the first one. Now Byrne looks for the pocket there, does find it, finds the quarter panel of Adrian's car, just hanging back a tiny bit and pops through the smoke, almost takes off the front bumper of his 180SX in the process. He's right there with Wheatley. Looks like he just has the pace here in the 180SX, Eddie. Yeah, he really does, and it's such a super fast car, and Adrian, you know, doing everything she can. Maybe adding a little bit too much grip into that car after what she, just to try and make up for the unexpected lack of grip that she faced earlier on. But Dean Byrne, I think, as you say, Mike, doing a lot right there. And unfortunately, looking like it could be the end of competition at round 3 for Adrian Wheatley. But we are merely just, you know, fans like everybody else here in attendance. It is up to the 3 judges to make the call. Look at the dive there from Dean Byrne through the smoke onto the door, maintains that proximity all the way through to the end. Yes, indeed, Eddie, and we have a result, and Dean Byrne does indeed go through to the top 16. Adrian Wheatley bows out in the top 32. A valiant effort, but not enough on the day against Dean Byrne. That looks like he's got a very gripped up car, and he will face off against Johnny Flynn at the top 16, Ed. Yeah, and that's going to be a challenge for Johnny Flynn, trying to keep with that car. I think it's going to be a challenge for anybody in this bracket, trying to keep up with the pace of Dean Byrne, and certainly a driver looking on form, well positioned in the championship just to bump himself up the order, contend for perhaps a top 5 with a good round here this weekend. So they head back into the pits, and we will be seeing some more from Dean Byrne later on this afternoon. But right now we go back to the start line where Ben Rogers sits ahead of his battle with Damien McKernan. Yeah, Ben Rogers struggling in the first half of qualifying, then really getting it together and putting in a big score to get himself into the top 10. 8th position for him against 25th position Damien McKernan. But Damien McKernan, Eddie, might not be the most consistent driver, I guess, but the aggression that the man has is absolutely unparalleled. And in the chase position, who knows what he can pull out here. Yeah, but you know what, Mike? It's the consistency that's the key. And against a driver as consistent as Ben Rogers, he's going to need to be, find that consistency here. It's all right having the aggression, but if you can't control it, if you can't manage it, then that's where the mistakes start to happen. So for McKernan here, he's got to be aggressive, but he's got to try and be consistent too, as he knows Ben Rogers has what it takes to take it all the way to a podium. As you can see, Rogers just dabs the foot brake there just to try and control the front end of that car. Bit of a gap opens up here now as McKernan quite sensibly just allowing Rogers room to move on the transitions on the back straight, but now looks to make the dive onto the door and really apply the pressure through the final couple of stages of the run. But look, the lead line here from Rogers, Mike, absolutely nailing it once again. Opens the door perfectly for McKernan to make the dive, and he does make that dive.
He does indeed. He pushes Rogers across the finish line. I would say there was possibly slight contact. Probably going to see a bit of a front tire mark from Damien McKernan there on Rogers' door, I would say. But overall, a good run, nice and consistent throw, Eddie, and once again, luckily in the top 32. You know, it can be a little bit sketchy sometimes in the top 32, but so far we've been treated to a couple of good battles, and this one living up to that as well.
Yeah, and I'd say no real major advantage one way or another after that one, so certainly all in the balance, all to play for going into the second half of this one. And you know, just taking a moment just to cool the cars down, maybe a little bit of mind games here as well. They'll be on the radios to the spotters. They'll both know that was close, so they'll need to have you know, I suppose a good listen to what the spotters are telling them in relation. And imagine on both sides, it's you got to go ham.
Yeah,
there's no holding back.
Exactly.
If you're in the lead, you got to be perfect. If you're in the chase, you got to door him. That's really going to be the message that's going to be delivered.
Yeah, you got to door him here. That's exactly what the spotters will be saying as they do a rolling burnout to warm the tyres for the second run. Quite intelligently, I would say.
Oh no, he moves a little bit forward, but Rogers doing what the chase driver is allowed to do, holding back.
Yeah.
You see the light goes red, it'll go amber for a moment. The chase car can move on the amber light as Rogers does. Slight little pause as he waits for the green light to go, and then here we go. McKernan losing traction on the rear wheels, off the line as he comes around that bend. As Rogers holds back, and again making a calculated decision, but puts a wheel up onto the curb and loses a huge amount of ground here. Has to straighten up to try and close the gap. Sacrifices outer zone 4 completely to try and make a dive onto the door. But could Damien McKernan be taking down Ben Rogers here?
Oh, Rogers goes in. Oh,
big error from Ben Rogers, Mike.
Way too hot there. Rogers making the dive. Can't get the Sylvia slowed down and drops a wheel into the hole of death there off the side of the track.
You know what, Mike? Well, we talked about Ben Rogers being the more consistent and steady driver here, but perhaps it's the Oma man finally finding his feet in the pro class, and could Damien McKernan be about to make his way into a top 16, which I believe, Mike, may be his first pro top 16 if he was to get the call here.
Yeah, I think he might be about to, Ed, because I don't know, did Ben Rogers have the best chase of his life there? That's for sure. A couple of mistakes. Just worth noting as well, guys, if you're watching at home or here in Watergrasshill, the lead car has to stay within 2/3 of the track width on his own side, so he can use 2/3 of the track width on the left-hand side while leading. We saw a couple of times yesterday the lead car actually went across the track a little bit, and they will be penalised if they do that. Not that D-Mac did it there, of course.
So, judges calling for replays on the initiation in the first section of the course. So, this one may not be as clear as it might initially look. The question that's going to be asked here, Mike, was Ben Rogers put off by the initiation of Damien McKernan? Did McKernan do everything that was asked for him in the driver's briefing? Was he on the perfect line, or was he not? Did he come in too soon? Did he do anything that may have caused a mistake for Ben Rogers?
Yeah, and you know, we've got a good crowd here today, guys, and if you want to see the replays that the judges are watching back, get out your phones, get on YouTube on the IDS page, and you can watch exactly what the judges are watching here, and we're watching in the tower. We've got the drone footage here, and we're watching to see if Rogers was actually put off by McKernan in the first corner. That's what the judges are looking at now. It's not so clear-cut. I thought Rogers just was a little bit sketchy, but obviously, Eddie, we're not watching it with the judges' eyes in this one, and the judges may be seeing something funny in the lead position there. I'm not sure. We'll definitely relay that to you as soon as we know for sure. But again, if you are here at the event and you want to see what the judges are seeing, get the phone out and get on YouTube. And the judges will be making their decision based on those replays.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are in attendance, drivers are out of their cars. Give it up for Damien McKernan and Ben Rogers putting it all on the line here for a spot in the top 16 at round 3 of the Irish Drift Series, brought to you by Lucky Day Competitions and Red Bull.
Yeah, just seeing a couple of things as well. The initiation there from Damien McKernan, there was a definite big correction in the chase position as well, so this one actually not as clear cut. You know, you're watching the run, Eddie, you're calling it, but you're not watching it as intricately as the judges are, obviously. And
yeah, look, I mean, we see smoke, we see big angle, we see speed, Mike, we get excited, you know, and I mean, they're still deliberating over this one, and it just goes to show they take every decision very seriously. And Mike, you have a winner.
Well, I don't have a winner yet, Eddie. We have a graphic on the screen, which means we're about to have a result very soon. And
well, could we see this go one more time is the question that's going to be asked as well. A lot of deliberation over this. We can announce going through to the top 16. Give it up for Damien McKernan. Damien McKernan takes down Ben Rogers. He moves on to the top 16. And what a way to start off round 3 for the Oma man. He's going to be absolutely buzzing. And after a lot of hard nights in the garage, getting this car ready for round 3, it's all been rewarded with a spot in the top 16. But Kieran Hines, that was not clear cut. Talk us through what helped you guys come to your decision.
That's me.
There you have it from Kieran Hines.
In the briefing, we explained the line through the first car is very important. The lead car has to be on that marker line, 1 wheel on the inside, 3 wheels on the outside. But that's the perfect line for the lead car to be on, so the chase car can chase. Now, when Damien was leading in that second run, he actually cut in tight, right? He cut in tight, and that should have been enough to then blame Ben Rogers' poor line down the back straight. But the thing was, we looked at it, and there was actually separation going into the first corner. So if Ben Rogers had been closer, we could have blamed the poor lead line from the lead car as the reason as to why he fell on the inside. But there was separation between the two. So we felt Ben should have been able to deal with the line. He should have been able to choose his own line because he wasn't actually that close on initiation. So the mistakes he made down the back straight couldn't be blamed on Damien McKeever at that stage. They were his own. He also dropped the wheel into the hole, as we call it here, and that again was his own mistake. Like, it can't be blamed on the lead car. When you compare it to the other run was close. There wasn't an awful lot in it, so he lost it on the second run, basically.
Well, there you have it from the judges, and as always, anytime there is a little bit of, something that's not quite clearly black and white, the judges always more than happy to explain why they came to their decision, and Damien McKernan very valiantly getting the call and moving on to the top 16. We move it back, though, to the start line, where End of Lines takes on a Pro 2 junior, Alex Butler, the man who took down the amazing Eddie Power in yesterday's competition at the top 32 stage. Can he go one further and take down the incredible End of Lines, a man who sits in the top 15 in the championship? Well, we are about to find out.
Yeah, who did he take down, Eddie?
Some guy called Eddie Power, I think.
The amazing Eddie Power.
The amazing Eddie Power, yeah.
Okay, must be good to have a name like that. But yes, Alex Butler. It's an interesting one. Again, I think he's definitely a driver for the future, and he is well up there in the junior class. I think he was leading it up to yesterday, but we'll have to check the results on that one. Maybe Jake Davey might have got that one after the results yesterday, but it's very close at the top of the juniors, that's for sure. And definitely a driver for the future, Eddie. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do here. And you mentioned that he did get the semi-slick tyres that the pro drivers are allowed to run. Of course, all Pro 2 drivers on road tyres, unless they're using 15-inch wheels, in which case they're allowed to use semi-slick tyres in order to level the playing field for the smaller cars. But Alex Butler purchasing those semi-slick tyres up here in the pro grid today and looking comfortable on them, Eddie.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's done really well. Qualified down the order a little bit, 24th position, but you know what? Battles are a completely different story, Mike. We've already seen Johnny Flynn taking down top qualifier Jason McInerney. Cast your mind back to round 2, where Jack Mwiny in an underpowered Corolla managed to take down some huge powered cars. So do not rule out Alex Butler here. And it pains me to say it, but he's an incredible driver. Well, it doesn't pain me to say that, but he is an incredible driver, and he needed to take down me yesterday. So he's going to need it again here against End of Lines. And who knows? We could be having an upset on the cards. Absolutely, it's certainly possible here.
Yeah, we could indeed. End of Lines, the man with the experience in this one for sure. But Butler, the hungry young gun coming up, and just sorted a couple of audio issues there in the tower. Hence the delay, guys. But we are warming cars, and we are ready to rock for our 4th battle, I believe. And it's our last battle in the top half of the bracket on the left-hand side of the top 32. So we are almost ready to rock.
Yeah, they are lined up, and they will await the orders now from the marshals. You see the marshals just checking the boat drivers are ready. That red light pops on the traffic light system that we have. Once that goes green, the lead driver needs to go immediately. But of course, the chase driver can leave the line early on the amber light if they choose to do so. Here we go. End of Lines to lead in. Young Alex Butler, who fires it onto the rear quarter, drops back, almost has a better line through that first section than End of Lines. As you see now, he tries to, bit of a straighten as he tries to slow that car down and scrub some of the speed. But he's maintaining consistent proximity here, Mike. And the young gun is right in this battle. And will we see one final dive on the last transition onto the wall goes Lyons, onto the door goes Butler, but he gets caught, Mike, and perhaps the added grip with the rear, with the semi-slick tyres just costing Butler there. But what a show that young man put on.
He did, but you remember, Eddie, I think that was where he shut it down in qualifying as well, was it? If I remember correctly, I think...
That's right, on his first qualifying run, he shut it down there and perhaps just can't deal with the whatever grip levels are there.
Or is it a mechanical issue? Is there something, you see sometimes the cars, if there's a wiring issue, if there's something just funny in a wiring loom that's getting moved a certain direction.
It actually looks like quite an easy part of the track, but you can actually nearly scrub too much speed and then might need like a clutch kick just to get going again.
Yeah. It could be just driver error, or it could be.
And I know, obviously, as you mentioned, it would happen in qualifying, but then with another car slowing in front of you into that situation, perhaps maybe a slight bit too much aggression mixed with additional grip in the rear end of the car.
Yeah,
it could all just be a recipe for a stall up like that.
So yeah, Eddie, absolutely. It could be either one. We'll have a word with Alex afterwards and get that. Get clarification on that, I'm sure, but we are ready to rock with the second half of this battle between In the Lines and young Alex Butler. It's East versus West on this one as well.
You really have the geography nailed, Mike, I have to say.
I do indeed. I was flying it in Bishop's Court.
No one knows it better.
I was flying it in Bishop's Court there with the Northwest, and I could see where the clouds were coming in from and everything. And I got confirmation as well from Cedric Mwiny. If you think back to Jack Mwiny there with the Corolla and waiting for the rain, I got confirmation from Cedric Mwiny that they did call a 5-minute rule waiting for the rain. So massive gamesmanship there. When I say confirmation, I got 3 laughing emojis back off him, but that was confirmation enough for me.
Yeah, he's a menace, that Cedric Mwiny.
He is indeed a menace. He was just back from Ibiza last year. I met him and still had the bucket hat on him, and I was like, where are you back from? And he said, I'm just back from Ibiza. That is Jack's father, so what a man he is. So Alex Butler, Eddie, do you have some info?
We've got an update on him. We're hearing that he broke a half shaft, Mike, which is the second one that he's broken this weekend. Broke one in his first qualifying run yesterday. He's now broken a second one.
Apparently, yeah, Tom Murphy, our judge there, was telling us that it's 5 half shafts. I did see him doing exactly that in practice. But, Eddie, you put the semi-slick tyres on, and obviously the grip levels go way up in the pro class. So the stuff at the back is putting more resistance against the drivetrain, and you put the semi-slick tyres on, and that's a recipe for breaking shafts if you're already breaking them on the road tyre.
So 5th shaft this weekend, but crucially, Mike, 5 minutes to get that done. Very unlikely that the team will be able. They can do a lot of stuff. Can they do a shaft in 5 minutes? I'm not so sure. We move it on to our next battle, which will see Fionn Roach taking on Sean Owen Curry in a battle that Gary Dunn would be absolutely loving with the amount of primer grey that's on the grid here.
Yeah, Gary Dunn be delighted with that one, that's for sure. And this is going to be a hard-hitting battle as well, I would say.
Look, I think the experience of Fionn Roach is definitely on paper going to put the advantage in his favour.
I was just going to say it, Eddie, exactly. But Sean Owen Curry, when I say it's going to be a hard-hitting battle, he is one of those drivers that kind of knows no chill, and he can pull out sometimes a banger of a chase run on his day. But it might be too much of an ask here against a Driftmasters driver.
Well, he's certainly going to go aggressive. He has the machinery to stay in the fight, but he's going to have to control it because drifting, at the end of the day, Mike, it's a non-contact sport. Light rubbing is encouraged, but, big crashing, not exactly what the judges are looking for. So it does need to be controlled aggression from Sean Owen Curry, but he has a Driftmasters driver about to show him what should be a near-perfect lead line. So he should have plenty of opportunities to make dives onto the door, plenty of opportunities to get that desired proximity, but can he find that perfect chase run to keep himself in the fight going into the second half of the battle, where he will have that clean air in front of him and the gap and door opened for Fionn Roach to try and do what he does best, which is put on, a near perfect chase run.
Absolutely.
So just a small bit of debris on the track just to be cleared up before we can send these two cars. We've got to make sure, obviously, that the track is as safe as possible for each and every one of our drivers. And of course, we have seen cars on their roof multiple times at this very venue, Mike. So it's very important that it's as safe as possible. Of course, you can never remove the risk completely.
Ryan Nelly had a roll.
Ryan Nelly, yeah, straight back into the car. They got the car back on its wheels, straight back in. A team of people around him, and the youngster just straight back behind the wheel, unfazed. Incredible stuff. Here we go. Fionn Roach to lead in. Sean Owen Curry. Fionn Roach losing traction as he just goes wildly around that first corner. Sean Owen Curry Looked like he was about to be gapped, but he gets back in it and loses a little bit more ground as Fionn Roach just tears up that back section and then throws on the anchors to try and slow down the car, but he has to back out of it, Mike, and he goes off into the gravel. And we talk about who's more likely to win on paper, but just when you think Fionn Roach is pulling the gap, he makes a huge error.
A huge error, yeah, and that's what I love about drifting, Eddie, and that's what I love about Watergrasshill especially, because it always throws up surprises. It always gives the underdog a fighting chance as well, because there are so many corners and so many sections that can catch you out so easily on this track. As we watch the replay back here now, and Fionn Roach completely unprovoked here, just fails to reinitiate. Maybe a mechanical issue there, Eddie. I'm not sure, maybe he missed the gear. Who knows? But Fionn Roach looks like a completely unprovoked error there, Eddie, if you'd agree.
Yeah, of course. You'd always take a look back at the replay just to be sure. Was there contact, perhaps? But it was clear as day to me, Mike, that there was, big space between the two drivers when Fionn made that little dive off the track to avoid having a collision. So it strikes me as if there might have been a mechanical that he was aware of and just trying his best to get out of the way.
Yeah, according as Sean Healy here, our track controller, his alarm goes off on his phone multiple times to tell him that he has his NCT tomorrow. In the car's for sale, of course. Every car that Sean ever has is for sale. I asked him last week if he'd sell that E92 BMW, and he said no, not selling this one. No, the car's for sale. Typical Sean. So, different BMW. He has too many BMWs. So just waiting confirmation here on what exactly is going on with Fionn Roach's car, just to update you guys and let you know what's happening down there on track. The marshals are obviously trying to recover it there and get some body work back on and get the car rolling and off of track, so or back to the start line.
Yeah, just hearing Mike, they're just taking the bumper off the car, so it sounds as though, unless we get any more information on it, it sounds as though it may have just been driver error in this situation. They're just removing the back bumper just because it was caught, but it will be very telling as to whether Fionn Roach goes just straight back up to the start line or if he bows out into the pits. But early reports are just driver error.
Yeah, early reports indeed, driver error. And guys, if you are watching on live stream at home, get into comments, get interactive, give us a like as well, and share it out, because this is Ireland's national championship where some of the best in the world compete and have competed over the years, and you are seeing the best in the business coming through the ranks in Irish drifting and making their way to the pro class. This class has seen the likes of the Shanahans, James Dean, Darren McNamara, Dwayne McKeever still, who is here with us today, and all those guys come up through this championship, and it is all happening here in front of us today. Fionn Roach is another guy coming up through the ranks, Eddie, looking very good today apart from that mistake, currently driving in the Drift Masters European Series, of course, and so basically it is a fantastic series. So get interactive, get in the comments, give a shout out to your favourite drivers, and give us a like and a follow as well.
So, Mike, the driver was given an opportunity just to rewarm the tyres, and Fionn Roach, well, he tested that car just on the way back to the start line, and it looks as though that I suppose, if nothing else, it just confirms driver error. So you never know.
Well, Eddie, you know what? A downshift is quite a common thing to have to do on this track because of the nature of that very tight hairpin. Possibly Fionn was going for the downshift, missed it, and went off track. Who knows? But we are ready to rock for the second half of the battle. It's not over yet. Sean O'Curry, all he has to do, we think, is put in a nice clean run here, which he does. Gets into the first corner beautifully. Fionn Roach trying to put him under pressure. The only thing the chase car can do here is put off the lead driver, show him the front bumper, put him off, distract him, do anything.
Oh, Mike, would you believe it?
Would you believe it?
And you talked about it potentially being a gear change. Could it have been the same thing? Could it have been a gear shift that put it this is, oh my God, two zeros back to back, two very similar mistakes. But we talked about Fionn Roach being in the chase position, the exact position he needed to be in to force an error from the lead driver. That's exactly what he's done. I don't think we need to go to the judges for this one because it looks as though we more than likely have one more time on our hands. Incredible.
Incredible stuff, Eddie. Like I said, it's never over till it's over in drifting. And
I think Sean O'Curry may have seen his name in the lights
And we can announce, just to confirm it, guys, we are going to go one more time between Sean Curry and Fionn Roach. And you have to say there, Fionn Roach got a get out of jail free card, Ed.
He certainly did. And I think perhaps, you know, if you're Sean Owen Curry, you're kind of thinking to yourself, I'm doing it. Oh no, I've done it.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing a skid. I'm doing a big skid. I'm doing a big skid. I'm not doing a big skid. Yeah, so Sean Curry, they're throwing it away. Possibly had a mechanical, who knows as well. And Eddie, that means we move it on. We're going to keep the battles coming thick and fast for you here. Man, back in competition after 7 years, Ed.
Yeah, back in competition. He comes up against a man in a borrowed car. It is Dermot O'Connell to lead in Alan O'Loughlin. O'Connell in that crazy Corolla fires it in, and Alan O'Loughlin didn't take his second qualifying run because of issues with the car, issues with the throttle. They've managed to get that fixed and back out on the grid, but he's just not able to hang with Dermot O'Connell at the moment, Mike.
Yeah, the Corolla looking very fast here. Unfortunately, the Sylvia doesn't seem to have the pace. Unfortunately there for Alan O'Loughlin, the borrowed car not working, the 180SX not working perfectly for him here, but you know what, he does find the proximity just at the end. But Dermot O'Connell there with the SR20 Corolla looking fast, Ed.
Yeah, looking very fast, and of course, be so familiar with this track. He was, if I remember rightly, on this track for a few practice days earlier in the season or earlier in the year, and as I say, a local man will be quite familiar with this circuit.
Yeah, the man from Mallow, just up the road, probably 40 minutes from this track, 45 minutes, Ed. And yeah, self-sponsored O'Connell Automotive. Good mechanic is Dermot as well, knows his way around the car. So
yeah, showing that he has certainly doesn't have too many cobwebs, Mike,
No.
you know, after 7 years out of the hot seat.
would have been a man though to do the odd practice day and get the car out and stay in the game, you know. So showing that he's still got it.
Certainly has. Well, here we go. Second half of this one. O'Loughlin to lead in O'Connell. He needs something big here. And maybe a little bit of help from O'Connell. Oh, but a late entry. Oh, both drivers making huge errors on the first corner.
Huge error. I thought that Dermot O'Connell was in trouble on the entry, but then Alan O'Loughlin with a huge error, the borrowed car. And you know what, Eddie? You could have two Sylvias right alongside each other, and the two of them might have been built to the exact same spec, but they're still different cars. Maybe it's just a familiarity thing with O'Loughlin because he's a top driver, but made an uncharacteristic error.
It'll always be in your head, Mike, that it's somebody else's car as well. It'll always be in the back of your mind that if you damage it, if you cause problems to it, it's somebody else's machinery. And
Dermot did not have a good entry there, to be honest, but it doesn't matter because Alan O'Loughlin had a completely unforced error.
yeah, it was a real get out of jail free card there for Dermot O'Connell because he was really messing up that line. And I'd say the sight of Alan O'Loughlin going into the gravel was a welcome one for him. Not that he'd want to see that for any of his competitors, but in terms of his chances of making it into the top 16 after his own error, he really needed the lead car to really make a mess of it.
Yeah, he really did, Ed, absolutely. But you know, possibly O'Loughlin lost drive there. Very uncharacteristic error, but if you didn't get the rear wheels.
Well, look, we know that there was throttle issues with that car, so perhaps they were just
correct.
rearing their ugly head and just at the wrong moments.
I spoke with John Shanahan briefly. He said that the throttle cable had completely wound around the throttle body pulley essentially, and maybe they just got it going very quickly. Looks to me, Eddie, like he lost forward drive there, that he went for the throttle wasn't there. He was already in correction in the steering and just didn't have the wheel speed in order to maintain his angle.
Well, we need to make it official. So we go to the judges. So, sorry, apologies if you're watching at home. We missed the graphic on our screen, so we can confirm going through to the top 16 is Dermot O'Connell. Pretty unsurprising there, Mike. Unfortunately for Alan O'Loughlin, that will be the end of his weekend, and maybe a championship season that will not want to be one that he remembers for too long. It just hasn't really panned out for him, but we know that he has what it takes to compete at the very top end here in Ireland, and certainly a driver that we expect to see back. He's out of the car, guys. Give him a round of applause. Give it up for Alan O'Loughlin.
Yeah, that could have been worse, Eddie, to be honest. We've seen cars go on their roof in that exact corner, in a number of places on that corner, and what a fantastic viewing point it is for everybody here in Watergrasshill, to be honest. If you're here in front of the shop. The cars pass literally right underneath you, and you get to see the action so up close and personal. If you're a little bit further on then and you're at the initiation point, you get to see the cars flicking it on angle, and if you're on the bank then further down, it's such a cool viewing point. You can see the cars dropping down the hill in that elevation change. It's just such a great, iconic track to watch drifting at.
So, Mike, I clearly owe Alex Butler's team an apology, because I said that fixing the half shaft in 5 minutes was very unlikely. Well, he's warming tyres in the burnout box, and I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be doing that with a broken half shaft. So that team obviously worked like absolute dogs to get that fixed, and I've heard that it's 5 half shafts he's broken in that car this weekend, so they've obviously had a fair amount of spares with them. Let's hope that that's the last one that he manages to break, and let's hope that he can get himself cleanly around this circuit as Alan O'Loughlin just passes by us here in the judging tower.
It sounds like the car's ticking over on its way to the pit, so I would say it's definitely a throttle issue with that car. So Alan O'Loughlin, not a mistake by the driver, just a mechanical issue which happens, and no serious damage by the looks of things, so all's well that ends well, apart from being out early. So we are ready to rock. Alex Butler, remember guys, going back to this second half of this run, Alex Butler would be at a 10-0 disadvantage, I would say, Eddie, against In the Lions, because he didn't quite finish the run.
Yeah, right at the death of that run, that mechanical problem for Alex Butler. But here we go. You never say never. As In the Lions looks to hold back a little bit here. Knows he doesn't need to do anything too crazy. Just get himself around the circuit and he'll be going through to the top 16. And you know what? He's been around the block a few times. He'll have the experience and certainly has the ability to just keep himself within striking range. But unfortunately, Butler... Yeah, you can see the shaking head. He's disappointed with that, Mike. He knows he had the ability to hang. You know what? There's better days ahead.
Yeah, he's shaking the head. Maybe lost drive there again, Eddie, I think.
Yeah, and maybe look a little bit disheartened. But guess what? You know, it's you're a junior driver. You're competing in the... Oh, that looked sore.
Jay tries to take himself out there.
But yeah, look, I mean, this young guy has some amazing days ahead of him in competition, and a lot to be proud of this weekend. Great result yesterday, qualified for pro competition today, and you know what? Even in a, probably an under-powered car, for this level of competition, showing that he had what it takes, and the mechanicals and a small bit of bad fortune, going up against a very talented end of lines.
We might need the ambulance there for Jay, possibly, I'd say.
Well, Jay's a tough enough cookie. I'd say he'll just he'll walk it off.
I've some dirt on Jay now, to be honest. A couple of our marshals were misbehaving last night. They were out in Kanturk.
Well, let's not
and
forget
I don't
that
think
this
they were
is a
behaving
family
themselves.
affair, Mike. So let's keep it PG.
They were in the pub anyway, I'll say that much. So just confirming there, In the Lions goes through to the top 16. Alex Butler not completing the second run. But you know what, guys, as Alex Butler, whenever he passes up, be sure to give him a big round of applause. He's done great things this weekend. Yesterday, he managed to qualify for pro competition, which is not easy in itself, and he is definitely going to be happy with his weekend. Maybe not the way that he bowed out, but the guys, I'm sure, will be... Keith, his dad there, and the crew will be looking at the... maybe the catalogue there for a Bulldog rear end or something for that car, and to strengthen up the rear end of that BMW and stop it from breaking shafts. And you know what, Eddie, this is when it gets expensive. This is when it gets expensive, because the driver starts getting better, the engine gets faster, the grip gets bigger, and the stuff in the middle breaks, and then you have to go to the parts catalogue and get the expensive gearboxes and get the expensive rear ends and rear half shafts for those cars, and that stuff alone can be crazy cost, but maybe that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, I think the most overused phrase in drifting is, I just need to get X and that'll be the end of the big spending.
Yeah.
And it's constantly lies.
It's lies. Yeah, exactly.
There is no such thing as, once I have this, that'll be the car finished. There's always something on the list, and there's always a better part. There's always more power to chase, and unfortunately it can be a never-ending money pit, these drift cars. But you know what, when it goes right, nothing else will put a smile on your face quite like it.
Yeah, we do have a car seeming like it's moving under its own power. Big round of applause for Jay as well, guys, who almost broke his ankle there running down to Alex Butler. He's trying to have a beard as good as Matt Darren's. He's not quite there yet, but 2028, I think that's his year.
Walking like John Wayne now.
He is indeed walking like John Wayne, yeah. As Alex Butler gets off the track. Remember, guys, this is just top 32 action. can be a little bit sketchy at times, because a lot of mechanicals can happen in the top 32. Once we get into top 16, usually the action heats up. And a big round of applause, guys, as Alex Butler exits the track. And that is all she wrote for young Alex for the weekend. But he is going home with a trophy from yesterday. He will be happy with his showing. And we have to move it along, Eddie, to an interesting one.
Yeah, very interesting. Stephanov pulled it out of the bag on that second qualifying run, Mike, and landed himself into that top 5 in qualifying. He goes up against Darren Lehy in the borrowed car here that he has only done one pass of the circuit in. Managed to get that car qualified.
Crazy stuff.
In 28th position. Now can he take down the absolute monster that is Stephanov, who's made his way over from the UK here this weekend. Here we go, Stephanov to lead them in. And Darren Lehy. Oh, well, do you know what, Mike? He's figured this car out in just one run. Look at the chase run he's putting in here. Big dive off the door here of Stephanov as they look to scrub that speed going into that very tricky right-hand hairpin. Stephanov on an absolute belter of a lead run, though. Oh, yes. What's happened with Darren Lehy? Appears to shut it down. Certainly had a straighten, Mike, as he tries to keep it going and get himself back into this one, but certainly fighting, perhaps with the grip levels.
Yeah, brilliant lead run there from Stephanov, guys. Round of applause as they pass us by. I was all praise for Lehy there. Unfortunately, just after the first hairpin, it seemed to all go wrong for him. It shut down, or he just lost drift. And to do what he's doing, these cars all handle so differently. Like I just said, you could have two Silvias built simultaneously with the same stuff, and the two of them will handle differently. They're just so individual and so knife edge. But to sit into a completely new chassis like that and do what he's doing, it just goes to show the depth of talent that Darren Lehy has.
And I think you alluded to it yesterday as well. This car that he's borrowed from Clark Hatton, it's still a work in progress. They're still trying to figure that car out. It's relatively uncharted waters in terms of how many of them have been used in drifting, particularly here in Ireland. So a lot of research, a lot of trial and error to try and get that car set up and driving the way they want it. So for someone who's never even driven the car to step in and do such a strong, or put in such a strong run, real credit to the skills of Darren Lehy. And as we say, we're well used to seeing him put in some big performances here at the Irish Drift Series. Here we go, second half of this one. Lehy to lead in Stephanov with a sizable advantage going into the second half of this one. And right from the off, he goes pure aggressive onto the door, hard on the foot brake to try and slow that car down. That car is an absolute rocket ship, Mike.
It's an absolute rocket ship, but it's too fast. Leahy's car is too fast, possibly pushes him off track, and maybe that lack of familiarity with the car already finally showing. But can we have a chat here about Stephanov? Look at this 180SX, absolutely billowing smoke up through the back of it. Even to chase that car with the amount of smoke that it's making would be difficult. Eddie, this guy's looking really, really good.
He's looking very good, Mike, but what's worrying me is the amount of handbrake used to try and slow that car down. And is that going to become a problem as the competition goes on, as drivers look to go closer and closer? Will that be hindering the chase driver? I'm not so sure. That'll be for the judges to decide, but certainly Stephanov appears as a real contender as he takes the win over Darren Lehy and moves on to the top 16. Ladies and gentlemen, give them a round of applause. Stephanov and Darren Lehy.
Yeah, so that is almost us done for the left-hand side of the bracket in the top 32, except we have a huge battle here, Eddie. This one could honestly be a potential championship decider. Ryusei Akiba faced off against Stephen Halferty in the last battle, but before we get to that, of course.
Yeah, before we get to that, Mike, we have the one more time battle between Fionn Roach and Sean Owen Curry. Now, let's cast our minds back to just a few moments ago, where on his lead run, Fionn Roach appears to have misshifted at the second hairpin between outer zone 5 and outer zone 6, handing a 10-0 advantage and opening the door for Sean Owen Curry to take a spot in the top 16. Reversed him around. Sean Owen Curry makes a similar mistake at almost the exact same place, leveling the playing field, handing a 10-0 back in favour of Fionn Roach, giving us a one more time. Will he get a second bite of the cherry? Well, he's getting a second bite of the cherry, but will he get a better opportunity, Mike, to take down one of the best in the country?
Well, you know what? I don't think that... Eddie, thank you for mocking me. I don't think that on paper, I don't think that Sean Owen Curry has it potentially, because of Fion's excellent qualifying, he just looks so good. And before he made that mistake in the chase, I would favour Fionn on this particular one, just on form today.
Yeah, I think if you're coming up against, if you have the experience of Sean Owen Curry going up against a driver with the experience of Fionn Roach, to not take advantage of an error and an opportunity that Roach gave him on the first run is something that he may kick himself for a long time, because will he be handed an opportunity and an advantage like that a second time in the matter of 3 runs? I'm not so sure. I think Fionn Roach, with the experience and the competitive nature that he has behind the wheel, will put it right this time around. I don't expect to see the mistakes from him.
Well, Sean Owen Curry hanging back. Look at the GT86 using the hole shot there, which he's entitled to do, getting the jump there on the lead car. Let's see if it works to his advantage here as both drivers hit the throttle, make the 6-cylinder scream and get into the first corner here in Watergrasshill. Beautiful entry there from Roach. Absolutely perfect line, lighting up all of 2. Big angle from both drivers. Sean Owen Curry slightly misses 4 there, Eddie. Yeah,
well, they couldn't get past this point on the circuit on the last 2 runs, but no problems this time around as Fionn Roach makes the perfect line, and Sean Owen Curry, well, he sees the door opening in front of him and he runs through it as he dives onto the rear quarter of that S14 of Fionn Roach. Roach fills that wide line as they go around the final turn, and Sean Owen Curry right there with him, Mike. Much better from both drivers this second time around.
Yeah, definitely both drivers figuring it out this time as we watch the replay here. A couple of mistakes from Sean around the first corner, nothing too major, and that perfect outside line from Fionn. Lovely, consistent angle around the outside of the first corner, first hairpin there, sorry. Now Sean Owen was quite on the inside of the track there, sacrificed the clip in order to gain the proximity. Looks for the door, Fionn Roach again. Very much finds it, but Fionn Roach with that textbook outside line, leading absolutely perfectly, Eddie. Great qualifying score there from Fionn. If he was in qualifying, I would say it's in the high 80s, which is what you want. And I still have to say that it's a good advantage to Fionn after that.
Yeah, I think so, Mike. And, as far as it's the first task ticked off the list here for Fionn Roach successfully. His goal was perfect lead run, hope for some mistakes from the chase driver. That's exactly what he's got. Now he just needs to get into the chase position, apply the pressure, and hope for a few more mistakes from Sean Owen Curry. Curry, UFO, is going to be feeling the pressure here now. But we're just waiting to see, is he going to make his way back to the start line, Mike, because he's going to reverse back. It's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it works out for him.
It's a bold move, yeah.
He's calling 5 minutes.
Yeah, so mechanical issue for Sean Owen Curry, calling 5 minutes, which he is, of course, entitled to do. The drivers get a 1 5-minute rule until they get to the top 4, where they get a second 5-minute rule. And Sean Owen Curry using his one early here in the top 32. Not sure exactly what the issue is. We'll bring you that as we get to it. But as I mentioned previously, Eddie.
Yeah, you were alluding to this one early, Mike. Getting a little bit excited, and I can see why. This is a huge one. Stephen Halferty taking on Ryusei Akiba. Championship implications on this one.
Yeah, huge championship implications. Ryusei Akiba only qualifying in 21st position. We saw him qualifying so highly at each round so far, but not getting to grips with Watergrasshill here as good as he would have liked, obviously. Stephen Halferty qualifying in 12th, and of all the drivers you want to face off against, we did see him make a mistake in qualifying, to be fair, Halferty, but generally he never has a mistake in him and he doesn't knock himself out.
But here's the thing, if he makes it through Stephen Halferty, he has a more favourable corner of the bracket, a more favourable path to the final. But guess what? Harry Kerr and Dwayne McKeever, the same quarter of the bracket, they could take each other out of contention nice and early. Bam, championship opens wide for Ryusei Akiba if he can get himself on a podium. But he's got to take down Halferty, one of the most consistent line drivers that we have in the competition. Ryusei has not produced that consistent line once today that we've seen in competition. So you got to say, advantage firmly in favour from what we've seen so far, Mike, to the lead driver here, Stephen Halferty, who on his day is near impossible to get a mistake from.
Yeah, you have to beat Halferty. He doesn't beat himself generally, which is very difficult to do. You just have to be better than him, basically, because the mistakes just don't come out of him. I would say that Halferty has probably done, honestly, what would you say, 15, 20 times more driving in Watergrasshill than Ryusei has. So you have to say here it's advantage to the Northern man. I mean, the Japanese driver, it's a Japanese style entry here in Watergrasshill. It's going to suit his style, but he's getting that wash, he's getting that slight correction moment that a lot of drivers suffer from here. And the pro drivers who've driven here 100 times, do have it dialed, but Ryusei so far not perfect.
I mean, what's interesting about it is Ryusei Akiba has been one of the standout drivers in this championship so far. And yet, here we are in the top 32, facing off against Stephen Halferty, and we're talking about Halferty as being the more favourable driver to take the win here. Ryusei is going to have to be at his best to take down Halferty. Can he produce it right when it matters, or will it be Halferty taking that spot in the top 16? Here we go. Both drivers, hard, fast, full throttle down that straight. Big initiation. Halferty perfect as he comes through 1 to 2. Puts the foot to floor to try and open that gap as they're full throttle.
Whoa!
Contact into that second hairpin. So difficult to scrub the speed there. We talked about Ryusei needing to be absolutely perfect. He had to drive the wheels off that car to try and stay with Halferty, and he just couldn't hang with the Northern Irishman.
Yeah, Kieran Hines, our head judge, saying things into his own headset that I can't repeat here. And wow, okay, you have to see here, was it the lead car slowing?
Was it the lead car?
But it is a deceleration zone, Eddie. They are allowed to decelerate. You have to brake in that section. It's up to the chase driver then to anticipate that and take evasive action.
It's important to note as well, though, Mike, while it is a decel zone, how much decel the lead driver does is an aspect that was covered in briefing this morning, and they were very specific. Kieran Hines very specific about being on angle, scrubbing speed versus almost straight lining scrubbing speed. So these are the things that they're going to be looking at from Halferty. They will analyse. Is it an early slow up?
Halferty did actually slow quite a lot here, Eddie. Guys, once again, if you're
looks
here
like
in
quite a
Watergrasshill,
sizable slow up. So I don't know.
get the phones out, get on the live stream, because the judges have.
This is one where, Mike, where you just know this is going to be talked about online, and no matter what way it goes, there's going to be people in Halferty's corner saying X, and people in Akiba's corner saying Y, and it's one of those where the last person you want to be is one of the three judges.
Yeah,
and
this is when you earn your money as a judge.
But you know what? I know that the three guys that have that responsibility will give this every last second of analysis that it requires in order to make the correct decision. So we wait for Stephen Halferty to be removed from the gravel trap, as we see Sean Owen Curry making his way back to the track after calling the 5-minute rule. And of course we try and finish out this left side of the bracket, Mike. It's had everything. It's had one more times. It's had 5-minute rules. It's had crashes. It's had it all. It's had the lowest qualifier taking out the top qualifier.
Yeah, and I just wondering now, we'll just see if Halferty's car, they seem to be unhooking it. I was just double checking that it can move under its own power, that he didn't just lose drive or something. But just speaking with the judges there briefly, and even though it did look like Halferty maybe slowed a bit, more than expected.
The other side of it is, was Ryusei coming in too hot regardless?
Yeah, and I would say.
Yeah, I think there's 6-1, half a dozen in the other potentially.
I think the two things happened, and the collision ensued. The two collisions ensued. So basically, I was speaking with the judges there. They are ruling in favour of Stephen Halferty on this one. So Ryusei Akiba deemed at fault for this collision. It will be a 10-0. It's a run defining issue. So it will be a 10-0 advantage to Stephen Halferty after that incident. Yeah, so that is the word. So Stephen Halferty in the driver's seat here, figuratively and literally, and as John Shanahan gets him recovered with the lovely Hilux, I believe a Hilux Surf. I'm not a 4x4 expert by any stretch of the imagination. It's a Jeep. Sean Healy tells us here into my ear, it's a Jeep. Fantastic. Full up, all the family out for a drive around the track there with John Shanahan. And Stephen Halferty, so make it off the track, 10-0, and this could have huge implications on the championship head. Yep.
One less post for Aaron Breen there now with that call.
Exactly. But as you mentioned, Dwayne McKeever and Harry Kerr could meet in the battle bracket if they get that far. So one of the two of those will be out relatively early either way. So it is not all over for Ryusei, that's for sure. But once again, there is always the second half of this run, guys, and as we saw earlier on, it isn't over until it's over. And Ryusei Akiba will now lead us in, and all he can do here, Eddie, is go as hard as he possibly can and hope that the chase driver makes a mistake, but Stephen Halferty doesn't really do that.
Yeah, it's not the enviable, not the right position for Akiba to be in to try and force a mistake. Halferty knows that he can just hold back here. He's just not getting it right though, but as I say, he doesn't have to do a whole lot here, just keep the head and keep himself in the fight. And Akiba, he'll be furious, Mike, because as we say, this was his opportunity, but we spoke about how knife edge and how perfect the run was going to have to be in order to take down an on-form Stephen Halferty. And for Ryusei Akiba, after having 2 back-to-back podiums, 2 back-to-back second-place finishes, it looks like he's going out in top 32 at round 3 of the Irish Drift Series.
Yeah, Eddie, I think you might be right. Not the qualifying session that he wanted, and we spoke about the importance of qualifying highly here, and this just goes to show exactly why you want to qualify high, Eddie. You need that theoretical, at least, easier battle bracket.
Yeah, well,
in
we
the
did
top
say
32.
either him or Dwayne McKeever could potentially come up against somebody tough, and it was Akiba that did so, but going through to the top 16. Give it up for Stephen Halferty! Stephen Halferty moves on to the top 16, taking down second place in the championship, Ryusei Akiba. And we turn our attentions back to the start line where, you know what, I spoke to Matt Darren when we had a brief break between qualifying and top 32. He said, no matter what happens, I've already won here.
Exactly.
I've already won because nobody, not even, as we just take a moment as Ryusei Akiba just ends the life of those tyres, but nobody expects and nobody would anticipate that he would take down Dwayne McKeever, and he doesn't even care if he's in the fight. As long as he has a photograph with him on the door of Dwayne McKeever to take home from this, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a Pro 2 driver to take on one of the best in the world. He'll be going home with a smile on his face, but you know what? Who knows? He could take him down and could find himself in the top 16. He guns it off the start line. He knows he's got to be on the button to take down Dwayne McKeever. Here we go, McKeever. Use the full track on initiation. Look at this from Matt Darren as he dives onto the door.
Wow!
Incredible stuff from Matt Darren. But now McKeever starts to put the speed into it. Goes full throttle down the back straight. Oh no!
Matt Darren maybe misses the down change. Doesn't get the car reinitiated. Huge mistake. He was so in it that's up to that point. But unfortunately all falling apart. Dwayne McKeever doing everything perfect as usual in the lead line in the Strom Wheels S15, and they crossed the line, and it was looking so good there for so long.
He was doing so well, and I could hear the collective oohs and ahs from everyone in anticipation.
Everyone loves Dwayne, Eddie, but everybody loves an underdog even more.
Everybody loves an underdog, and you know what? It's a credit. It just shows how popular Matt is and how good a personality he is behind the scenes, that even with Dwayne McKeever on the grid against him, people were excited to see him in the fight and maybe taking this, you know, with a little bit of a question mark over it going into the second run. But he's put up a good fight here. Small mistake. Who knows, Mike? Who knows? You just never know. As you said, 10-0s yesterday overturned. I know it's Dwayne McKeever, but you always hold out a little bit of hope. Matt Darren's done himself proud there. I guarantee he'll be smiling inside that E36 behind the helmet. And I know his wife Katja will be looking on, absolutely loving this as well. And
yeah, well, you know what, Ed? The way he was chasing yesterday, he got himself on the podium. I didn't put it past him to take this battle, even though he is against one of the best in the world. I thought that he had an outside chance genuinely, but it is still all to play for. But Dwayne McKeever is another man that doesn't really make mistakes, Eddie, so let's see what Matt can do in the lead
certainly
position.
One of the best in the business when it comes to chase line driving as well. And look at this, goes heavy onto the door, nice and early. But does he wash a little bit? No, Matt Darren just kicks up a little bit of dust and he gets onto that inside line. Big speed now as they go down the back straight. Darren throws on the anchors to try and scrub that speed before getting back on the power. Opens up a gap to McKeever as McKeever now comes hunting for the door, makes the big dive. As Darren just cuts the track a little bit as he goes by 7 and 8. Big dive onto the door for McKeever just to cement his authority on this one. Guys, give it up for Matt Darren as he crosses the line. Dream weekend, dream battle, and what a worthy effort from him up against one of the best in the world. And as Dwayne McKeever gets out, give it up for the best beard in the business, Dwayne McKeever and Matt Darren. Well, that's the beauty of this sport here in the Irish Drift Series. Everyday working class heroes getting an opportunity to come up against some of the best in the world. We can announce going through to the top 16 is the Northern Smoke Machine, Dwayne McKeever. But one last time, give it up for Pro 2 driver Matt Darren.
Yeah, the Matt Darren fan club absolutely delighted with their weekend. He's taking home a trophy, and we'll see him back in action at round 4 in Bishop's Court. And once again, guys, we are sponsored by Red Bull and Lucky Day Competitions. Be sure to check out all that those guys have on offer, especially the competitions by Lucky Day, and of course that crazy drift pursuit event going on in Spike Island in a few weeks' time at the start of July by Red Bull. It is going to be one of the most insane events that Ireland has ever seen, so check that out.
So back to the start line, to the battle that just doesn't want to be finished. It is the second half of the one more time battle between Sean Owen Curry and Fionn Roach. Fionn Roach with that advantage after the first run of this one more time. Owen Curry on a wide line. But look at Fionn Roach, pure aggressive chase driving. Really where he comes alive behind the wheel of that S14 as he throws the anchors on hard on the foot brake, just try and scrub the speed. Perfect in the chase position. Not a bad lead line here from Sean Owen Curry as he does everything to try and put off the chase of Fionn Roach as he fills those outer zones. But look at the way Fionn Roach transitions onto the door through the final sections they go. Give it up for Owen Curry and give it up for Fionn Roach.
Yeah, great run there from both drivers. Really loving Fionn Roach's chasing there. And you know what, Eddie? I know the Driftmaster's tyre makes life very difficult. There's huge grip on the European tyre, but I'm going to say that Fionn Roach actually looks fantastic in his S14, more comfortable than he looks in his own European GT86, looking so good in this S14. As we wait for the judge's decision to drop in. Both drivers out of the cars, guys. One more time. Round of applause, please, for Sean Owen Curry and Fionn Roach, putting on the twin Battleship Grey. Twin battles there. Twin battles, Eddie, in fact, because we win one more time. Great display of driving from both drivers in the second battle. Not so much the first one, but definitely the second one.
Yeah, almost feels like a top 16, you'd say, for Sean Owen Curry. He got the battle twice. And, again, another huge opportunity for a driver going up. But the results coming in. And it's going to be Fionn Roach moving on to the top 16. Round of applause once again for both drivers. Sean Owen Curry, bringing Fionn Roach to it one more time. Had that opportunity to take the battle on the first attempt. Just made that error. Very unfortunate for him. He will be ending his competition there, and we will see Fionn Roach back out in action later on in the top 16, where he will go up against Diarmuid O'Connell.
As Sean Owen Curry tries to blow up his RB right in front of us with some crazy rev limiter action. And we move it along to another interesting one. It is young Jack Caldwell with the 2J powered S15 versus Chris O'Callaghan with a new engine, a new SR22 under the bonnet. Like I said, his old SR20, I think it would have been a little bit laggy, a little bit difficult to drive. The guys there, Chris Brown and Paul Stryker coming together, giving him a new engine package for this weekend, and he's looking all the better for it, Eddie. And is he about to take a scalp out of
Yeah, Chris Brown taking a break from the music to try and get that engine into the car and ready for the weekend.
He was
Incredible
at that forever.
Stuff. But here we go. Caldwell to lead in O'Callaghan, the youngster against the rally driver. We have it all here at the Irish Drift Series. Look at the speed that they carry through that first section. Flat out as they go down the back straight, and a huge gap opens up. O'Callaghan cuts the circle. It's off for Jack Caldwell.
It's 2 or 3 wheels off for Caldwell and the straight, and a huge mistake for Caldwell, allowing Chris O'Callaghan to get back into the fight in this battle here. Caldwell making an uncharacteristic mistake. Chris a little bit shallow from the wall there as well. A bit of a sketchy battle here, Eddie, and I think it's still all to play for.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Fully agree with you there. It's sketchy. It's nervous. It's tentative. There's moments of brilliance from both drivers. I think if I was to maybe say that there's a slight advantage, maybe the bigger errors are on the side of Chris O'Callaghan, but this is a huge error. I mean,
well, it's a big wheel off there from Caldwell.
What I mean to say is there's more errors from
Caldwell.
O'Callaghan, but the bigger error
Yeah.
is that huge one there. And it looked worse certainly on the replay as well. Did he manage to hold on? Very much flirting with 4 wheels off there, Mike.
Yeah, line from both drivers was somewhat comparable. A couple of smaller mistakes from Callaghan, but a very big mistake from Caldwell. Like this track, guys, it's so technical. You really, if you get a chance to get down to TS Drift Days, get yourself into the driver's seat ideally, but even the passenger seat of a car. When the cars come off the first corner, they really squat down. The rear digs into the track as you start to level out, and it catapults the cars forward. And the pace that you start to pick up as you get into that first hairpin is absolutely insane. And you can see it there, Eddie. It's just catching a few drivers out, and the track temperatures are changing as well. Therefore, the grip levels are changing. So you're on a knife edge anyway. Never mind the changing conditions when the sun comes out. So we're just hearing that Jack Caldwell, not Ryan Caldwell. He's not here. He's rallying.
Well, he's here.
He might be here.
He might be here.
He might be here. If you're here, Ryan Caldwell, give us a shout out. But Jack Caldwell is calling a 5-minute rule. So possibly, I'm not sure, heating issues or something. We mentioned the sun being out here, Eddie, and these cars, Caldwell's cars, putting out 650 brake horsepower there. So obviously the offset of putting out all that horsepower is an awful lot of heat generated. The laps are quite long here in Watergrasshill, and you're going quite slowly, as we mentioned yesterday, for a certain part of the track around the hairpins. You're at huge RPM, but you're not moving very quickly through the air. You're kind of sitting there through those hairpins, so it builds a lot of heat, and there's not a lot of airflow to get that heat out. So sometimes...
And even when there is high speed, there's a lot of angle at it as well. You're kind of on transition, nearly building speed. But yeah, as I say, the engines really put through their paces on this circuit, particularly when the sun is out. And we're not going to complain about it, Mike, because this place can be pretty miserable and pretty grim when the rain is falling. But we've had some fantastic sunshine here this weekend and near perfect track conditions, certainly for the competition days that we've had here since the end of practice for the Pro 2s yesterday morning. Conditions have been essentially perfect for drifting. So we go back to the start line. It's a big one. Two friends off the track. Harry Kerr to take on Sean Watt in two very different BMWs, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, the thing here, I think Kerr is going to open up a very big gap here. He's got the horsepower in the 2J BMW. Sean Watt's car, great driver behind the wheel, makes that car work, but this track does need a little bit of horsepower, especially between the hairpins.
Yeah, and you can see him making the jump off the start line just to try and keep as close as possible to Harry Kerr. And look at this, Harry Kerr now starts to make the overtake. Can Sean Watt stay with him on initiation? He certainly can through that first section. Hunts down the door, but look, as Harry Kerr now puts foot to floor, Sean Watt having to massively sacrifice outer zone 4 to try and make that dive onto the door. The judges will have noted that he has the proximity, Mike, but he'd have to cut the track massively to get there. Now has a big straighten, and it's just starting to show the longer the run goes on, the more mistakes that Sean Watt is having to make, the more sacrifices he's having to make to try and keep in the fight. He does a good job, but with the machinery that he has at hand, pretty much standard operating procedure, what you would have expected to happen throughout that course of that run.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned in qualifying, Eddie, you said it, that you have to sacrifice a lot in order to make the level of horsepower that Sean Watt has, about 300. So he sacrificed a lot of clipping points in order to keep the proximity. He did keep the proximity, to be fair to him, but it was mistake ridden, and the chase car has to be on also the qualifying line, essentially mirroring the lead car. And unfortunately for Sean Watt there, even though he did maintain the proximity, he sacrificed almost everything to do it. So I think it's going to be a good advantage to Harry Kerr. But as we always say in drifting, and especially here in Watergrasshill, it's not easy to follow a slower car. And especially here, because of the severe braking zones and the on-off nature of the track, it's not too bad to follow a flowing track. It's not that hard to follow a slower car because you can left foot brake around it. But sometimes these stop-start tracks, there's a lot more to do in the car. So when you're following a slower car in a car that wants to go through his door, basically, it can cause a lot of mistakes to be made by the chase driver in the faster car. So let's see. Harry Kerr is well capable of taming this car and slowing it down a little bit and maintaining proximity without mistakes.
Yeah, look, I think, even with the aggression that Harry Kerr has, he is a very calculated driver as well. And I think, look, he'll know that he can gain the proximity. I won't think you'll see him going too aggressive here on initiation. I say that as he goes right on the back bumper on initiation of Sean Watt. Harry Kerr has zero chill, as we say time and time again. And it doesn't matter what level of pace is in the car in front of him. He just wants to go in the door. He's here to bang doors and take home trophies, and he does that pretty much every time he comes out on circuit. He's absolutely gunning for it here. But what about this for a lead line from Sean Watt, laying it down in an underpowered E36 as they take it across the line. Give it up for Sean Watt and Harry Kerr. You know what? Harry Kerr went nice and aggressive.
You know what?
Sean Watt gave us good. Do you know what?
You know what?
You know what is what, but you don't know what is what.
They just strut. Don't say the next bit.
What the fluff.
Exactly.
So
good lead line there from Sean Watt, liking that one, but we can confirm going through to the top 16, continuing his championship charge. It's Harry Kerr goes through to the top 16. Sean Watt buying out of competition, doing a great job there in the second half of the run, but not enough to overturn the first one. And we move it on, Eddie, to a man that you know very well.
Yeah, well, this is a big one for me, and obviously a big fan of Darrell Barnett, but of course the man who gets me on the track all the time, it is Gary Dunn. He's back behind the wheel in a borrowed car. He's had quite a successful season so far. He comes up against, the very experienced. These two guys will know each other from years ago where they've competed in the past together. But Gary Dunn leaves the line in the lead position as the higher qualifier to take on Darrell Barnett, who's going to take the spot in the top 16. Here we go, Gary Dunn, full tilt, opens up a gap nice and early. Can Barnett close it down as Dunn struggling all day with that second zone? Goes wide once again. But again, he gets back on the power, scrubs a lot.
Whoa! Gary Dunn stays at a collision there from both drivers. Darrell Barnett can't stop the BMW. Gary Dunn, to be fair to him, actually kept it in it. Didn't do a Ronaldo and take a dive there or anything. And you have to like Dunn's line there, Eddie.
Yeah, you have to like the line from Dunn. And interesting, there was a huge gap, huge separation. So will the judges say, similar to what we heard before there, that maybe perhaps a mistake from the lead driver, but it shouldn't have impacted too heavily on the chase driver? I don't know. But certainly two drivers fully committed.
Yeah, I mean, Dunn was possibly washing a little bit wide there, and maybe looked like he was starting to go off track and had to slow it. He definitely didn't have a smooth kind of arc around the outside hairpin there. So
yeah, he said earlier on he's really struggling just to tame that car. Such a hard car to try and just keep on angle. You can see a big wash there. Does manage to get the nose of the car back just to maybe get one wheel into that second inside zone as they're looking at it again. Barnett out of position.
Yeah, I think
scrubbing some speed.
Yeah, I think
it's not an easy one, Mike. And
it's like Halferty and Ryu say earlier. I think it's a bit of 6 1/2 dozen in the other.
Exactly, yeah.
Barnett was barreling in. Dunn definitely scrubbed speed slightly excessively. Possibly thought he was going off and just had to scrub the speed in order to stop the car dropping wheels. But yeah, the judges having one more look now on the replay. Once again, guys, get out the phones, have a look on YouTube. You can see these replays yourself if you're here to track. I mean, Eddie, it's a bit 6 1/2 dozen in the other, but it is up to the
yeah. I mean, there's slowing from Dunn, but he does make it work, and
he does. Yeah.
Yeah, just comes off the power just for a moment, but. Was Barnett coming in too hot regardless?
I think it's both, to be honest.
Yeah, was Barnett going to hit him regardless is the question. I mean, look at the line from Barnett.
You got to watch the tyre smoke from Dunn as well here, because he should have been on throttle after the clip. I mean, he has tyre smoke.
He has tyre smoke.
He has tyre smoke. Yeah.
If Barnett's on the correct line, it's tough.
Yeah, I think
I'm really glad I don't have to make the decision because I really like both drivers and. Two great guys behind the scenes.
I never again want to judge, to be honest.
I never want to try it because, look.
It's a great way of making enemies, actually.
Yeah. How to make enemies and alienate people. Lose friends and alienate people, isn't that
a great book, yeah.
Yeah.
Great book.
Pretty much, there's one line in it, just become a drift judge.
Yeah, exactly. So, just having one more quick glance before we move it along. And, I mean, Barnett was on the inside line, did miss the clip, and Barnett was washing off track anyway. Barnett was definitely washing off the track, I think, had he not had the collision. And I have to say, okay, it is a little bit 6 1/2 dozen in the other.
Yeah. But look at the amount of ground that he's having to try and catch back up here. And
it's not a zero. I don't think it's a full zero either, though, to be honest. I mean, Barnett does get going again. So it might not be a run-defining moment. Like Barnett, okay, stops and reinitiates straight away. So is it a zero? Close, but maybe not quite.
I think it's
9-1.
Yeah, well, that's of course if he's given, if he's rewarded the responsibility for the collision. Yeah, I mean, look, you enter a judge sport, and the easiest way to not have to worry about the judges is to make it clear cut, and unfortunately, it's not exactly clear cut.
Exactly. Can we get away from everybody sunning themselves there down on the bank, guys, enjoying the drifting Watergrasshill? Getting sunburned there, that's the stuff. We'll get a Mexican wave going later on there now if we have another stoppage, but
a Watergrasshill wave.
Yeah, Watergrasshill wave. Get the sunscreen.
As we have Drift Royalty to our left, James Dean is here in attendance with one of our sponsors, Chris from Strong Wheels.
I'm to your left.
Yeah. Drift royalty, I said.
Oh,
To my
sorry.
left.
Sorry. Yeah, and Mike Dean is there.
Mike Dean
Don't
is there.
forget Mike Dean. Looking lovely in the sunshine here in Watergrasshill.
James Dean, do you have a moment? He's having a meeting, he says. He's organising budget for 2026.
James Dean is organising some new wheels and budget for 26, exactly. Can't interrupt that. We are going to interrupt that, in fact, as we do have my good friend, my old friend James Dean in the tower, Eddie.
James,
I'm actually
you're
in
here.
shot if I stand up here.
I don't know. Are you on spotter duties or the two shortest men in drifting with the tallest man in drifting? Certainly one of them, anyway. James, you're here in attendance today. Spotting for Chris, is that right?
Yeah, spotting for Chris this weekend. So I'm having a weekend from the sidelines of the track, which is good for a change. And Chris has been helping me all season last year and this year. So it's good to switch it around. I'm spotting for him and helping him out with the car during the week and this morning as well. So very good to be back at a home IDS event. I love watching drifting in Ireland and supporting the local championship, supporting Kieran Hines.
Well, we've been
He's
talking.
making faces at me, but
We've been talking about how difficult this track is, and it doesn't really mean anything. Certainly coming from me, maybe a little bit from Mike, but this is your home track. This is where you come to test. So, from your point of view, just how difficult is it? Particularly, we see the first corner cause a lot of problems for drivers. The chase, we've got always drama down here at the second hairpin. Talk us through those two particular sections of the circuit and just how difficult they can be.
yeah, so this track is very difficult if you're not familiar with it, especially, as you said, the entry to the first corner. So everyone wants to throw massive angle in there, and it's cool, and you can pull it off, but you can easily, cut in too early in the first corner and miss inside clip 2, which is putting you on the wrong line going down the back straight. And then you're carrying a lot of speed going down the back straight, so you need to really be careful with your braking. I feel like this track, you need to have a lot of patience. You need to, hold yourself back at the right moments, push hard in the other moments, and we're seeing some great driving, and I'm loving watching it here.
Thanks, James. Well, it's great to get your insight. We'll maybe try and grab you once more before the end of the day, but we got some action back on the start line.
My pleasure.
Thank you, James. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for James Dean. But back on the start line it is Jack Caldwell and Chris O'Callaghan for the second half of this battle, Mike. O'Callaghan in the lead position. Caldwell to give chase after calling that 5-minute rule. There was mistakes on both sides. Oh, the door swings open.
Holy door banging.
Or was it just a wing flapping up? I'm not quite sure, but here we go. Down the back straight. It's the wing. Oh! Body panels flying everywhere, and this one has just been an absolute calamity of, I want to say errors, Mike, but it's really been electric. Both drivers driving quite literally the doors off these cars as Caldwell makes a big dive onto the door of O'Callaghan as a contact as they cross the line.
Oh. Contact and drama here at IDS, and that is exactly what we love to see, Eddie. A bit of a talking point, and it's easy for us, Eddie, not so easy for the judges. And we'll have to have a look at this one again. That was absolutely nuts, Eddie. There was incident after incident. We saw bodywork flying. We saw contact. Chris Callaghan got a slap into the door there just before the finish line. Did he slightly shut it down? I don't know. It was lots of stuff happening on that run, and that was the second one, of course, of the one more time.
It certainly was. McKernan now going through to the top 16, taking his very first ever top 16 in pro. Give it up for Chris O'Callaghan. Chris O'Callaghan takes the win. And unfortunately for Jack Caldwell, that is going to halt his championship hopes, his championship dreams. He was sitting in 6th position, and that's certainly going to maybe bump him down the order. Will he stay inside the top 10? He'll certainly be hoping for. But what a moment for Christopher O'Callaghan, taking his first scalp here at the Irish Drift Series in Watergrasshill.
Yeah, and we are getting down through the bracket in the top 32 here, and it is into the lower half of the bracket, I would say. At this stage, Eddie, our final quarter of the bracket as such, as Tom Murphy, our judge, draws on me with a pin. Fantastic maturity here in the judges. And it is on the line, the one and only Pro 2 champion from last year, who did a very romantic gesture for his new wife, still new wife, for their anniversary, Jakob Kruszczak, with a bouquet of flowers against the one and only, the gentleman, Kieran Casey from Limerick. As both drivers, 2JZ power, about 1600 brake horsepower on track, there or thereabouts. in this battle. Crazy stuff. And Jakub Kruszczak pulls out a massive gap here on Kuba. Look at the grip of Kuba's S14.9, Eddie.
Yeah, so quick, and Casey just unable to match it, really. Almost rolling burnout-esque, trying to match the pace. It seems like there's no wasted power in that car, Mike. It's just so well dialed. And Jakub, like a rocket ship through the course. Big gap opens up, no chance for Casey to get any proximity. Crowd enjoying that one, and Kuba, as ever, with a big following here in Watergrasshill, and looking very strong there, Mike, and certainly 1 foot into the top 16, you'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I know these two drivers very well, and Kuba's car very well as well. Kind of prepared at our own place in Group D, along with Kuba's guys as well. Big Jacob, as he's known, and the crew there getting Kuba's car ready. And yeah, very familiar with both of these guys, and they'll be both having fun. I know that for sure, but I know that Kieran Casey's improving on every round. Look at him actually understeering the Silvia there through the corner. Very intelligent, keeping heat in his front tyres according as he comes around, and scrubbing the marbles off them. So very intelligent there from Kieran Casey, using the cool down lap to keep heat in his front tyres. Kuba has championship aspirations, Eddie. He's in 5th currently, and you know the way today is going, we thought we were going to see maybe the top 3 maybe extending that gap, but it's not gone that way so far for Ryusei. So Kuba might be looking to get into that 3rd position here with a big result, and he might be looking to get in the championship podium contention.
Yeah, well, look, you put it this way. So Akiba's gone. Guaranteed, no matter what happens, either make Final 4. If he goes against, he's going to go up against, if we were to, you know, tick it off of what's most likely to happen, he could face McKeever or Kerr. If he's going to get them, he's going to get them in the Final 4.
Exactly.
At that stage, he's not losing too many points to them regardless. He's gaining on the guys that are out. And yeah, I think championship for Kuba right now could open up right in front of him.
It could indeed, but Kieran Casey in the lead position didn't seem to have the pace. That car is traditionally very quick. The event we had in Rose Green last year, I'll never forget how fast that car was there, but doesn't look to have quite that pace today, Eddie.
Yeah, maybe just can't get the grip down on this circuit here as Kuba holds back a little bit before making the charge. Looks like quite a sensible entry there, but needs to be careful here. He doesn't lose ground here to Kieran Casey, who, as you say, Mike, that car can be like a rocket ship. But Kuba really starting to close the door there as Casey falls off the qualifying line. And I think quite a collected, calm, sensible approach here from Kuba as he peers through the smoke onto the door, applies the pressure at the right moments, gets himself across the line.
Wow, what a run.
Say Kuba looking strong there for a spot in the top 16.
Yeah, crowd loving that one. Big rounds of applause there for both drivers, and Kuba with a great chase there, popped out of the smoke of Casey. Huge smoke from the back of the S15, and Jakub Kruszczak is indeed the winner, guys. Advances to the top 16. Kieran Casey bows out early in the top 32. Unfortunate draw for him. But Kuba makes it through to the top 16, and to face off against Kuba, it will be the winner of the next battle. It is none other than Adam Kelly in the big R33 Skyline versus Dennis Murphy in the Bandit Drifters JZ powered S13 180SX. So it is Waterford versus Cork, and both crazy drivers, both very aggressive driving styles here, and both very used to this track on Watergrasshill. So expect fireworks in this battle here, guys, as we get ready to leave the line. Adam will be your lead driver, the higher qualifier, chased in by Dennis Murphy. Dennis Murphy knows this track like the back of his hand. So let's see what he can do in the chase position here. Adam Kelly leads us in, crosses the track. Adam Kelly has crossed the track in the lead position. Judges will deduct him a little bit for that, I think. Nice clipping zone 2 there from Kelly. Murphy is very shallow and is a little bit off the clips there. Tiny bit sketchy in the chase position for Murphy. Now Kelly does everything pretty much right in the lead position. And let's see as they get into the final part of the lap what Murphy can do. He doesn't quite find the proximity. Somehow Kelly is finding the grip in the big Skyline, the heavier car pulling out the gap there already.
Yeah, sorry Mike, I didn't catch a whole lot of that one as I was discussing just other battles with or just the order of the day with our head marshal here. But yeah, looked like you know what, looks like Adam Kelly really coming into his own here. Yeah, missing some clips here and there. Dennis Murphy not perfect in the chase position. That car just looks so difficult to drive. It's really hooked up, like very, very grippy, and particularly in the chase position, probably not the easiest car to to keep on angle.
Yeah, but I was speaking with the judges this morning, and Tomas Falvey emphasising that the lead car has to stay within 2/3 of the left-hand side of the track. So I think Kelly might have just gone a tad far to the right there, and he said they will be deducting points if the lead car strays over into the chase car's lane, essentially not giving him room to initiate. So I'm not sure how much they're going to lean on that for that one, but that is what I was told from the judges, from the horse's mouth, so to speak, Eddie. Not calling Tomas Falvey a horse, just from the horse's mouth.
Tom's a horse of a man.
A horse of a man.
Tom Murphy, that is. He's a horse of a man. Right, back to the start line where it is Dennis Murphy to lead out Adam Kelly.
Oh, Dennis Murphy crosses the track massively. Judges absolutely shaking their heads at that one. Dennis Murphy did exactly the same thing. Crossed the track in front of Kelly, put Kelly off. So big mark down for Murphy now. Oh, massive dive from Kelly. Oh, what is happening, Eddie? Massive dive from Kelly. Couldn't get the big skyline stopped. Contact ensues. It's a tough day for a judge here, Eddie. I mean, Murphy put him off from the start. Kelly comes barreling in. Was Kelly put off from the get-go? Was Kelly trying to make up a big gap from the get-go?
Yeah, look, and you know, we've seen it rolled back at times as well in the past where, you know, yeah, look, that's quite a... He really did impede the lead or the chase driver there on the entry, on the run-up towards the start of the scoring zone. But, I mean, it's a big dive from Adam Kelly, and maybe that's independent of what happened in the first corner,
but
Mike.
Are the judges going to say that that gap opened up because Murphy crossed the track in front of Kelly on the initiation? I don't know.
And there's an argument for it.
There is an argument for it, yeah. Like you say,
if
he's a long way back.
Yeah, if he hadn't been impeded,
would he have been closer?
He wouldn't. Yeah, would he have been closer, and would he have not needed to make that dive? I mean, it's just how far back do you go is the question, and I think, yeah, I don't ever want to be a judge, Mike, because
no, it's a tough day for judges.
No matter what way you call that, you're going to have people that are going to be unhappy, and
yeah, exactly.
There's argument for it both ways.
You just have to go over everything in briefing as black and white as possible, and go off that then. And sometimes even as comprehensive as you can be with your briefings, you can't cover every possibility. I mean, Kelly was going off anyway, but did he make the dive because of the massive gap that had opened up? Because Murphy crossed the track in front of him. I mean, to be honest, I think there was a big gap, and it was a big dive. To be fair.
Yeah, I think there's enough time has passed there. I mean,
yeah.
Could you say if that dive was on the last corner, could you still attribute it to having to gain back the ground from the error on the first? You know, I think you got to look at both scenarios separately.
Well, we do have a graphic on the screen, Eddie, which means we're about to have a result. Oh, we're not. They wiped the graphic from the screen again.
The replay one more time, Mike. But yeah, look, just to go back to what we were saying there, you know, they're independent mistakes to a point.
They are indeed. And the two lads discussing it on the track there, and I'm sure they're deep in discussion, but we can announce going through to the top 16. It's the Cork man, Dennis Murphy, goes through to the top 16 in the Bandit Drifters 180SX. Adam Kelly making the dive, not working out there. Judges obviously ruling that mistake from Kelly was his own independent mistake, Eddie. Yeah, so both drivers making the mistake on the initiation, crossing over into the chase driver's lane, but essentially the judges ruling there that Kelly's dive was an independent mistake. He dive bombed in, couldn't get the skyline stopped, and that was all she wrote for the run.
So back to the start line where it is a borrowed car driven by David Garvey, where he takes on Christopher Dean.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting battle here as well. Big horsepower on the line. David Garvey's timing belt taking in some rubber from the track and pretty much destroying, I believe, unfortunately, his newly built 2JZ. Just very unfortunate for him. And he is in a borrowed car, but Christopher Dean looking great in quali, Ed.
Yeah, he really was. Qualifying high up in 6th position. And of course, with James Dean in the air, who'll be paying particular close attention to this.
Contact.
But look at this. Contact through the first corner as David Garvey goes super aggressive and tries to force an error from Christopher Dean. Dean rides the white line as he comes around by that second outer zone. And giving Garvey, you know, a near perfect lead line to chase here, but Garvey with that door open.
Whoa, big
contact and just goes too aggressive, I think, on the final right-hand hairpin. And Mike, you know what? We have seen contact in almost every battle today.
We have indeed. Watergrasshill is famed for the contact, and it always lives up to that. Never disappoints in terms of drama. And you know, Eddie, the fastest car is a rental car.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, poor Nathan Corcoran watching on from the pits as his car is used as an absolute battering ram through the first corner and through the final corner as well.
And he's put his heart and soul. He's a customer of ours at Group D, and I know this guy well. He's put his heart and soul into this car. It fought him tooth and nail every inch of the way it fought him. Now he has it working, gives it to Dave Garvey, and Dave Garvey just uses it as a battering ram. As you do.
It's almost bumper cars, never mind go-karting track.
Okay, so we are hearing that we have a broken shaft from one of the cars. Christopher Dean has broken a half shaft, so has called 5-minute rule. So it's the contact has broken it. So I will assume that it is a competition time out he's going to be given, even though the contact actually occurred on the front. So maybe you might have a bent tie rod situation there or something as well. But definitely contact causing the trouble there.
Yeah, also contact on the front, the first corner as well, Mike. So I don't know, perhaps that leading to the damage as well. But we will get more information on that. And, well, we go back to the second half of the Gary Dunn, Darrell Barnett battle. Gary Dunn, I'm hearing, awarded a competition timeout, which would be suggesting that he has the advantage going into the second half of this one. But we'll wait for the judges to confirm that as both drivers get ready to warm their tyres. It was a messy one, Mike, for Darrell Barnett and Gary Dunn, but they've got one more run to get this done and decide who's going through to the top 16. Winner will be taking on Harry Kerr, so it's not going to get any easier for them, whoever does make the progression. As we wait to get the marshal's order for the second half of this one. And as we say, judges awarding Gary Dunn a competition timeout. Not sure, was there any problems with the car? Were they maybe just checking it over? We haven't heard any information on that.
Yes, indeed, Ed.
Yeah, so just a slight delay in the action here as we just ensure the track conditions are safe for everybody. And our head marshal just taking a moment just to discuss something with the judges here. So we have a little bit of a moment, Mike, a break in the action. But the sun is out.
Yeah, so the judges...
I don't think anybody be too worried. Yeah, so some decisions need to be made here just in relation to the Christine battle and who is at fault. That will determine whether or not he gets a 5-minute rule or a competition timeout. So we just need to resolve that so the drivers know how much time they have to get the cars sorted and back on the line for the second half of the battle before we can progress with the second half of the battle that is on the line, Gary Dunn and Darrell Barnett. So it looks like we are ready to go. Barnett to lead them in. Second half of this one. Contact on the first battle. Will it be a cleaner pass in the circuit as Gary Dunn allows a little bit of ground here on the run in, but gets right into it and keeping steady proximity here between himself and Darrell Barnett. He may know that he has the advantage, so no silly mistakes, no silly errors. Just gets grips up a little bit and he gets offline, goes onto the inside of the track. And perhaps issues with that car, just looks so difficult to try and keep on angle, but he's managing to do so one final time.
Whoa.
Can he get himself around the corner here? On angle and across the line. Guys, give it up for Gary Dunn and Darrell Barnett. That car does not look easy to drive.
Yeah, Darrell Barnett absolutely mullering the quarter panel there off the wall. Great driving there from the very experienced Northern Irishman. And like you said, it does not look like... neither car looks easy to drive today, to be honest, as we wait for the judges to have a look. And we will be bringing you the official results in just a moment.
Yeah, so of course, on the first half of the battle, there was that contact as they came past outer zone 5. Or outer zone 6, rather, into that second hairpin. So judges still taking a moment to deliberate over this one. As the guys wait patiently, guys, give it up for Darrell Barnett and Gary Dunn. Two incredibly nice drivers or guys behind the scenes. And you can just see that collision on the replay if you're watching at home. Thanks for joining us online. Thanks to all of you who are here in attendance as well for joining us in the sunshine here in Watergrasshill.
Absolutely, and you can get your merch, of course, from the IDS tent. Don't forget that. And once again, IDS in 2025 is brought to you by Red Bull Lucky Day Competitions in conjunction with ECU Master, GMD Tire and Service Centre, Yugen Factory, TS Drift Days, driftmagazine.eu, Strom Wheels Turn Distribution, Nisuba Group D, where you have to talk to me, and Darren McNamara, and CDM Sport, of course, Conor Duggan competing yesterday, a long-term sponsor of the series, and Shift AM, the IDS official media partner this year, where you can check out the YouTube series that he is currently bringing out behind the scenes, bringing you all the action from behind the scenes, Eddie, and a little bit of insight into what goes on.
We have a decision, Mike, and going through to the top 16. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Gary Dunn. Gary Dunn taking down Daryl Barnett. Lots of deliberation from the judges on that one. Kieran Hines, we're going to go very quickly to you. All coming down to the first half of the battle and the contact as they were going into outer zone 6.
Yeah, that's basically what it does come down to. The contact, obviously, in the first run. We looked at it. We looked at a replay from different views. We looked at it from the chase drone. Darryl got gaps down the back straight, and we do think he dive bombed in a bit. Now, we did feel that Gary could have been on shot a little bit earlier, but, you know, I said in the briefing, we can share blame to a point, but in this case, we felt that Darryl was more at fault, so a competition time was called, so we actually gave it to Gary. We gave him a competition. But I've said in the briefing before, a competition timeout doesn't mean a 10-0 scored, so it was literally scored like I don't know, I think I had an 8-2 to Gary on the first one. Second run there wasn't a lot in that one. Okay, the proximity wasn't there from the start, so that one was like maybe a 6-4, but not enough to overturn the 8-2 on the first one.
Thanks, Kieran. We move along. Gary Dunn goes on to the top 16. Unfortunately, the end of the competition for Daryl Barnett, but we got two more spots in the top 8 or top 16 to fill. Yeah, we're going to fill one of them right now with David Curtis and Jack Mwiny.
Yeah, this is the last battle in the bracket. Of course, we go back to the Dean Garvey one after this, but this is a very interesting one. A big horsepower deficit. David Curtis with the SR20 turbo power, leading in Jack Mwiny in the borrowed, naturally aspirated BMW. And definitely outgunned here power-wise. You can see this one here, even though David Curtis is just campaigning the little SR20, it still has so much more legs than the borrowed car of Jack Mwiny. And of course, if you remember back to round 2, guys, Jack Mwiny working wonders in the borrowed Corolla with 170 brake horsepower in the wet in Bishop's Court, but not enough here in Watergrasshill. The dry conditions, Eddie, proving maybe a little bit too much in the battles for Jack Mwiny and the little naturally aspirated E46 BMW. But once again, guys, as we always say, it's not over until it's over, because David Curtis now has to find a way to hold back that S14, because Jack Mwiny is going to be going as fast as he possibly can in the lead position, but as you can see, that's not very fast in this car. And David Curtis might be forced into a mistake in the chase position. He's going to have to left foot brake a lot of this track, which is quite difficult in Watergrasshill because there's a lot of straight sections, and it's quite difficult with an SR20 as opposed to a JZ or an RB or a V8, because there's a lot less torque in the SR20. You have to keep it singing, you have to keep the revs up a lot more. So definitely a difficult task, I would say, for David Curtis in this. So keep a close eye on this battle yet, guys. It's a big advantage to Curtis, but that could all change as he becomes a chase driver. And it is, once again, our last battle in the top 32 bracket. But we will be going back, of course, to Christopher Dean versus David Garvey, who has a competition timeout in the pits in order to finalise our top 16. So yeah, Ed, I mean, what way do you see this one going? It's going to be very difficult for Curtis to chase Mwiny and not to be straightening up and making loads of mistakes. Yeah, I mean, we saw it at round 2, just how incredible. It was incredible to see what Jack Mwiny was able to do in an underpowered car, keeping it on the qualifying line, and it caused havoc for chase drivers because, he was on a perfect line, but he was obviously naturally quite a bit slower, but doing nothing wrong. Pedaling that car as much as he could. And it is quite a challenge for the chase driver to then match that pace. So don't be surprised to see him going far. But as we say, Curtis, he can be hot and cold. Needs to control the aggression here as best he can, Mike. Yeah, absolutely. Perfect textbook entry there from Mwiny. Misses clipping point 2 though a little bit. Now Curtis, look, gets a little bit cut out for sure. Curtis is completely straight here. Loses drift. Exactly as we said, Eddie. Could not maintain drift behind the slower car. Curtis with the little SR20 is massively struggling here, guys. Could Jack Mwiny be about to pull off a huge upside? Look, Curtis, he can't hang behind the slow car already. The SR will not stay raving. He cannot manage it, and Curtis.
Oh, and again, contact just as they go across the line. But I mean, look, from Mwiny's point of view, I mean, just watch the lead line here, Mike, on the replay. Obviously, you guys in attendance won't be able to see that, but I mean, yeah, misses outer zone or inside zone 2. But for the rest of it, he's on a wide line throughout the run, and while
Like
it's
Mwiny,
not perfect,
or Curtis is completely straight.
yeah, huge straight in there through that section, and.
So you've got huge lack of proximity
You know,
versus huge amount of
But
mistakes.
this is the thing. Kieran Hines talked about this in briefing this morning. You know, when it came to battles, they had an opportunity to watch this yesterday where people were going too aggressive through that first corner rather than leaving a little bit of a gap. Get through the first 2 hairpins and then start to make your dives. Curtis didn't do the clever thing. He didn't hold back. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, that
shaking
may
a
have
hit
cost
there
him
from,
as the winner is announced going through to the top 16. Give it up for Jack Mwiny!
David Curtis gives Jack a round of applause, and exactly as we said, Eddie, the peaky power delivery there of the SR20 make it very difficult to left foot brake and hold that car back. You'd have to sit it at 6,000 RPM, to be honest, to left foot brake it, and that brings its own problems, to be honest. You know, the thing will be trying to die and just come off boost and everything. So very difficult task there for David Curtis, and no shame in losing to a slower car, because an extremely difficult task. And that's where if you had an LS, say you had an LS3 there, you know, naturally aspirated 500 and something horsepower, whatever, that would have been a much easier task, because that thing will just get up and going from 1500 RPM pretty much. It'll just get going. And you can come off throttle, it'll just get going right away. But with the SR20, you have to get it singing, and yeah, that's why you can sometimes need to spend the big money on the big engine. So that means that we are going back to our last battle of quite a long drawn-out top 32, an entertaining one, Eddie, a sketchy one.
Yeah, it's been entertaining, Mike. It's had a lot of crashes, a lot of bangs, a lot of 5-minute rules, competition times out. We've had a little bit of it all, but you know, these guys, they're fighting with every ounce of their ability and their desire to get it into a top 16. That's when you really feel like you're part of the show. You know, get 2 battles under your belt, and anything from there is a real bonus. But yeah, we got to find our last driver into the top 16. Will it be Christine? Will it be David Garvey? Discussions with the judges over who was at fault. There was numerous points of contact. David Garvey, of course, pedaling this car like it was somebody else's. Well, it is somebody else's, and he doesn't have to worry about fixing it. That'll be up to Nathan Corcoran. But here we go. Second half of this one, Christine is going to need to have the bit between his teeth. Needs to find something special there as he dives onto the door of the E46. And Garvey putting in a solid lead line here for Christopher Dean to try and chase down as Chris looks to make that big dive onto the door once again as they go into the second hairpin. Garvey rides the wide line and looking strong once again, but here comes Christopher Dean, who's had steady proximity all the way through the run. It's been far more controlled, less hits, less bangs. They go wheel to wheel as they come across the line. Watergrasshill makes some noise for David Garvey and Christopher Dean.
Nearly called him Dylan there, Eddie.
There's too many brothers in Irish drifting.
There
Mike. It's
is.
impossible to keep
We
track.
had it yesterday, but I can give you a bit of insider info, guys. I do believe that the competition timeout was awarded to Garvey. Speaking with the judges, they thought that the half shaft of Christopher Dean was after braking prior to the contact in the first run.
Yeah, and the winner is announced going through to the top 16. Give it up for David Garvey. David Garvey moves on to the top 16. Sorry to cut across your mic as you were saying.
Good. All good, buddy. And yeah, so the judges deeming the contact as the fault of the rev limiting Christopher Dean exiting competition spectacularly there, and that is it, Eddie. We are finally into the top 16.
Yes, Mike, we started out with 40 drivers earlier on this morning. 16 remain. Johnny Flynn will be the first of our headline battles where he goes up against Dean Byrne. He's already taken down our highest qualifier, Jason McInerney. And on the other side of the bracket, well, the championship is all up for grabs as Dwayne McKeever, well, him and Harry Kerr are on a collision course in the Grade 8 if they can overcome their top 16 battles. But they've got Christopher O'Callaghan and Gary Dunn to take it down respectively. It's all opening up. Halferty is there in the mix. And guess what? Jakub Kruszczak on a corner all on his own could see himself right in contention at the end of this one. Here we go. Top 16 kicks off. Dean Byrne to lead out. Johnny Flynn, here we go. Big angle through the first corner as they launch into that section. Huge speed here from Dean Byrne as he makes light of that long back straight.
Oh, Johnny Flynn!
Flynn!
Johnny Flynn fires into Sylvia, can't make it stick. Over rotates, spins out. Dean Byrne looking absolutely on rails here in that beautiful 180 Johnny Flynn went for the dive. You know what, Eddie? At this level now in the top 16, you have to go for it. It's risk versus reward, and the rewards weren't there. The risk too much for Johnny Flynn.
Yeah, look, the conversation, I guarantee, in the pits where would have been, I know Dean Byrne is fast. I have to just go for it. He's in the top 15 in the championship. He's on form this year. He's on form this weekend. You don't want to get gapped. You don't want to lose by not going for it. He went for it. It didn't work out. There's no shame in that.
There's no shame in that. Exactly, Eddie. There's no shame in it. You have to go for it in the top 16 in IDS because the other guy is going to be absolutely on it. So there's only one way to win, and that's push to 100% and maybe beyond at times. Maybe Johnny Flynn just went beyond it there. But it isn't over yet. It ain't over yet because Johnny Flynn is our lead driver now. But Dean Byrne knows here his spotter is going to be on the radio. He'll have seen the spin in his peripheral vision from Flynn. He'll know, Eddie, all he has to do is put in a really safe chase here.
Yeah, well, it doesn't look like he's going to do that, Mike, because he's straight off the start line, side by side with Flynn here. He should be holding back. Maybe he will do, but he goes full aggression as he tries to throw it onto the door of the S14 of the Mayo Menace. Nice lead line here from Johnny Flynn. Just about gets himself into outer zone 5, or outer zone 4 rather, as they throw on big angle now into the second to last hairpin. Flynn, and an absolute stomper, doing everything he can here to try and force an error from the lead position, but Dean Byrne calculated, maintains consistent proximity throughout the run. They go across the line. Watergrasshill, give it up for Johnny Flynn and Dean Byrne.
Yeah, great chase there from Dean Byrne. Didn't need the aggression, but using it as twin battle practice for later on. And a fantastic run there. Guys, let's hear it for both drivers, Dean Byrne and Johnny Flynn. Johnny, the flying Flynn. And we can announce going through to the Grade 8. It is indeed Dean Byrne goes through to the Grade 8. Johnny Flynn, winner of the Mr. Mayo competition 1999, but not the winner today in the top 16, Eddie.
Yes, a little known fact about Johnny Flynn.
Yeah.
And, Google it if you don't believe us.
Exactly.
So they get ready to leave the circuit. Guys, give a round of applause once more. Johnny Flynn, the Mayo Menace. Dean Byrne moves on, though, to the Grade 8. And what a move that is for him and his championship hopes. And it's going to pump him right up the order and maybe into contention for a top 5. We go back to the start line where two guys would love an opportunity to get themselves into a Grade 8. Two guys, similar experience. Damien McKernan to take on End of Lines in the Pro Championship a little bit longer than Damien McKernan. McKernan in his rookie year. Two guys are going to be absolutely gunning for it here, Mike.
Absolutely, Eddie. Absolutely gunning is right. Well, Damien McKernan doesn't know anything else except absolutely gunning. So always fireworks with him as we hear the lovely clutch kick noise there over a big straight 6 getting kicked over the hill here in Watergrasshill. A bit of a mistake there from Damien McKernan in the chase. Makes a huge dive now. Does he make it stick? He doesn't.
Oh, but he manages to keep that car on angle and gets back in it, Mike. It's a huge mistake, but he's narrowly avoided getting a 10-0 disadvantage going into the second half of this one, but he's full aggression as he dives onto the door. Contact with the two S13s.
Yeah.
Give it up, Watergrasshill, for Damien McKernan and End of Lines. What a show they have put on. Mike, the driving here this weekend is nothing short of spectacular.
Yeah, it is, Eddie, and that's a top 16 battle all day long. That's exactly what we expect according as the battle bracket whittles down. And just on that moment, as we see in replay, I held on to my word. I said I was going to say he does, and I held on to my word for a second. It says he doesn't, but he kind of held it. He didn't spin, so props to Damien McKernan, just like Johnny Flynn before him in that corner, making the big dive, risk versus reward. Didn't quite work out either there for Damien McKernan, but didn't have a run-defining issue either, so he's still in with a fighting chance here.
Yeah, certainly, Mike. Look, I'd say, as you say, you got to say he's a heavy underdog here now after that mistake, but it's never over until it's over here. And, a similar mistake from End of Lines, but the beauty for End of Lines is he'll know he can hold back here. He doesn't need to make the big dives onto the door. He doesn't need to go super aggressive into that second hairpin where we see so many people making dives and making mistakes as a result. And
you know what In the Lines is good at actually? He's good at keeping his car in the lines. He doesn't really go off track much if you think about it. He's quite difficult to beat.
He doesn't paint outside the lines. That's
no,
for
he
sure.
doesn't. he was always a great man for the colouring books when he was younger. So
here you go. He'll be looking to colour himself into the top 16. And you can see already Mike looking to hold back his End of Lines as he's very clever through that first section. McKernan washes a little bit wide. Doesn't get himself into inside zone 2, and he needs to try and find something special here. But look at this. So clever from End of Lines, just holding back, not making anything too much of the run, just doing enough to stay in the balance, in the fight, in the conversation as McKernan throws it onto the wall. And End of Lines, very clever, very tactical, holds his composure, and it looks like he'll be going through to the grade 8.
yeah, like you said, Eddie, really intelligent there from In the Lines. Would have had the information from his spotter that he doesn't have to go crazy. Big mistake from McKernan there in the chase, so you don't have to put it all on the line here in the chase position. Just hang back a little bit and it should see you through, but let's make that official, and we can make it official. In the Lines goes through to the grade 8. Damien McKernan bowing out. A little bit of over-aggression there from Damien McKernan, which is what we love to see, and that's what makes him so entertaining. But In the Lines is the man to advance in this one, and that means he will be facing off, I would believe, Eddie, in the grade 8 against Dean Byrne. So we move it along to the next battle. Eddie, who is it?
Well, they're already on the line, waiting to go. It's going to be Flynn Roach. It's the Marshmallow battle.
It's the Battle of Mallow here. It is Diarmuid O'Connell versus Fionn Roach. These two guys will know each other well. Both Mallow men, just about, like I said, about 45 minutes and most away from here.
Yeah, and both guys from completely different eras of drifting.
Are you calling Diarmuid old?
I am calling him old. So is the
So am I.
calendar.
That's the calendar. So is his birth cert.
His birth cert's calling him old. But you know what? From completely different eras, but you would say almost similar in terms of experience, because you know, Diarmuid O'Connell may not have competed at the highest levels like Drift Masters, but he has been around the block for a long time. He'll not be phased coming up against the likes of Fionn Roach. Fionn Roach won't take Diarmuid O'Connell for granted, though. He'll know exactly what he's capable of. He'll know he needs to be sharp. And look at this right from the off. O'Connell hunting down the door of the S14, but he's losing some ground as Fionn Roach just powers down that back alley. Gets on the power again as he goes hard and fast through that second outer zone. But here comes O'Connell again with the big dive onto the door, but can he hang with Fionn Roach through the final sections as Roach throws it onto the wall? Here comes the big dive from O'Connell. Does he make contact? No, but he has to back off. Loses some ground once again. Mike, it had it all.
It had it all. It had a big mistake from O'Connell on the bottom straight, on the power alley, as you say, Eddie, in the back alley. Watch this from Fionn Roach now. Perfect line from Roach. Picks up zone 2 perfectly. O'Connell sacrifices 3 there and was very straight on the bottom section. So I think, Ed, yeah, big advantage to Fionn there. Just double checking that there's nothing leaking from Fionn Roach's FR Services S14. Jay there, our finish line marshal, just making sure. There is definitely steam coming from somewhere, but it might just be breathing it out. And for some reason, I see a jug of oil under the bonnet there in Fionn Roach's car. No idea why there would be a gallon of oil, in fact, in Fionn Roach's car.
Very well spotted, Mike. That is quite unusual. And,
just in case you need to top it up
just
during the run.
Top it up mid-run, yeah. You could perhaps get Papa Dean down to sit in the bonnet and just top it up as you're going around.
Yeah, at least it's on the cold side, at least.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's, anywhere that's...
I can't imagine that it's
that's
quite
cold.
very cold over there,
yeah,
exactly.
that wouldn't melt through, light plastic.
Yeah, so just double checking that all is right here with Fionn's car. Again, like a broken record, like you said, but these cars are super stressed. These cars are super stressed. Just double checking that the bonnet pins are closed. We don't want to see a bonnet racing up and hitting a windscreen.
Yeah, just getting to that stage of the weekend, Mike, where, there's tired bodies, all around, and everybody doing their best to make sure that everything is safe. as Mike takes a seat, showing your age here, Mike. It's a long day to be standing. 2 days of hard graft for you here, and you were DJing last night as well. So
yeah. Back to work tomorrow. The glitz and the glam, Eddie.
The glitz and the glam.
Hoping to drive the bike down today,
this
but
side of it, Mike.
No, hoping to drive the bike down today, but back around my way was all rain, so no such joy. Was trying to add to my pain and my discomfort for the day, but yeah. Lovely weather down here, though. Thankfully in Watergrasshill, as the sun is shining here on this iconic track. Always such a pleasurable venue to be at when the sun is shining. And we are being treated to some fantastic battles. Now that we're in the top 16, the battles are getting much better and much more enjoyable, I would say, Eddie, a lot tighter.
Yeah, and you know what, Mike? The top 32 was slow, but it was still quite explosive. Maybe not the best drifting we've ever seen, but you know what? That's the thing about drifting. It doesn't have to be amazing driving to still be exciting. And these guys have been absolutely blowing the doors off these cars, just trying everything they can, giving every single run absolutely every ounce of their their adrenaline and their ability, and they've just been, it's just pure passion, and I absolutely love to see drivers just putting everything on the line. These guys work so hard. They put everything they have into these cars, and they come here to crazy go-karting tracks and, made-up tracks that we have with walls and barriers. And
World War II
airfields. It's crazy just to try and, throw them, destroy them against somebody else's car. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Zero sense.
It doesn't really have to. But when it works out, it's the most unique and enjoyable and feeling that you're ever going to get. And
it's like, let's build a $100,000 car and let's try and just not hit a wall with it barely.
I think you have to have so much invested in it that, when it's going wrong, it's torture, but when it goes right, even for a moment, it's exhilarating. And that's the beauty of this sport, is that it can kill you all weekend and then give you one moment that just goes, oh, I'm ready to do this all over again.
Yeah, fantastic memories. It's just the best, and the adrenaline rush you get off it from behind the wheel is like nothing I've ever experienced in any other form of life. And like you said, Eddie, I'm lucky enough to have a few things like that would give you a good rush, but nothing beats behind, including driving a superbike. Genuinely, I don't think anything actually beats the adrenaline rush you get from being behind the wheel of a pro drift car. It's absolutely crazy in the heat of a battle with the crowd here, especially in Watergrasshill. Crowd are right above your head, and I love driving up the hill here as well, actually, because you can't see anything, and all of a sudden the crowd are like right within touching distance of you. So crazy track when we reverse it and drive up the hill as well, which hopefully we will see again someday.
Yeah, look, we are back here for the second round, for a second round of the 2025 championship. So maybe we might
convince Kieran Hines.
Maybe we will get to see up the hill.
If we talk nicely to Kieran.
I've only ever done it for one lap before my clutch gave away, so I don't really know what it's like.
Yeah, it is awesome. It is definitely one of the more exhilarating corners in Irish drifting, I would say, in Western European drifting, that's for sure. And of course we have the iconic Mondello Park as well. Speaking of tough corners in European drifting, the first corner there, well known across the world as being a very, very tricky one. So yeah, we have it all here in Ireland, and we have it all here in IDS. And just double checking what's going on here, Eddie, because we have just got a little bit of a delay as we wait for confirmation. This should be an explosive one, Eddie. Stephen Halferty against Stephanov.
And we talked about the speed of Stephanov, Mike, and this car, it's an absolute smoke machine. It's a rocket ship. But will he be as steady and consistent as Halferty? And I think we've got two completely different styles of driver, two completely different cars. But it's either going to be the explosiveness and the exuberance of Stephanov, or it's going to be the calculated, calm, steady, consistent line of Halferty. Halferty doesn't make the mistakes, so I think Stephanov's going to have to be on his game here. It's all right being aggressive and being fast, but you have to be able to control it. And if he doesn't control it, then he's going to open the door for Halferty to walk through and to maybe perhaps take a spot in the Great 8.
Yeah, so just getting that oil cleaned there off the track. And just making sure, of course, that is right on the initiation point there. So making sure that conditions are safe and consistent in the interest of fairness and safety of competitors, of course, as our hard-working marshals sweat it out there in the Watergrasshill sunshine. And once again, guys, IDS 2025 is brought to you by our title sponsors, Red Bull and Lucky Day Competitions. and that is in conjunction with Shift AM, CDM Sport Group D, Nisuba Turn Distribution, Strom Wheels, ECU Master, GMD Tyre and Service Centre, Yugen Factory, TS Drift Days, and driftmagazine.eu. And if you need any parts for your car, or you fancy doing a track day down here, you want some body work, you need tyres, anything like that, you need some wheels, pretty much any of those sponsors can help you out. And be sure to support those sponsors because they support Irish drifting. They make this championship possible. They give up a lot of prizes for the drivers at the prize giving at the end of the year, which I've DJ'd for myself many times, Eddie, but I've been replaced now, thankfully, by Adam Driver, our commentator from yesterday, and it's always a good night.
Yeah, I was going to say, in absence of anybody with real talent, Mike, they just brought you in. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mike will do it for free.
Yeah, good man, Mikey.
Yeah.
Give him an old pat in the back there now, and he'll be happy.
And a few points, he'll be grand.
Cork.
Exactly, but we are ready for battle action. Finally, we have the oil cleaned up, and it is
but
Stefan.
no tyre warming, additional tyre warming for these drivers. So what's going to happen going into the first corner? As Stephanov chose it in, will he wash wide? No, manages to keep it together, but they do get a little bit caught up on the inside as Halferty drops wheels. We'll need to see that again, Mike, as they go into the replay. Oh, a big angle, and Stephanov locks it up and goes into the gravel.
Oh.
And I think that's going to make the judge's decision a lot more straightforward. And we spoke about the aggression and the craziness and the speed of Stephanov, but Mike, it's got to be controlled to a point, and it just wasn't on this occasion.
Yeah, Eddie, I just have to see this one back again on replay just to double check what happened. Loving the sound from Stefan's car as well. Such an interesting build. Very fast 180SX as well. And yeah, just looked like it totally unforced there already. I mean, just went off track. Didn't seem to get the car reinitiated. Maybe once again might have been a gear change. Maybe he just carried too much pace in there. You have to get on the foot brakes so hard. James Dean mentioned it there. There's times to go hard on this track, and there's times to be like kind of contemplative about your next move, and you have to be lining up that hairpin at clip 4 on the right hand side of the track essentially, and you have to get on the foot brake quite early, as you know, because you were driving this track yesterday.
Well, I don't know because I wasn't doing it right, Mike.
Well, you still qualified.
But you know what?
Fair.
You find useful information every time you make a pass of the circuit, and it's great to get the insight from someone like James Dean. There's so much you can learn from that on a track like this where it really is tricky. It's so much more complicated than what it looks like. But here we go, second half of this one. Halferty to lead in. Stephanov with that huge error. He's going to have to go aggressive here. Can he try and force a mistake from Halferty, who's just so steady in that lead position? He won't be phased by the aggression and the pressure that Stephanov chose at him. But Stephanov chose big angle at it to try and slow that car down. But he keeps it going now, makes another big dive onto the door. But the line from Halferty here is near perfection as he throws it onto the wall. One last corner for Halferty, and he's going into the top 8. Can he find the perfect line? He can, as they both cross the line. Watergrasshill, give it up for Stephen Halferty and Stephanov.
Yeah, the aggression from the Bulgarian driver there. Absolutely crazy in the 180SX, Eddie. Loving that chase there. Stephen Halferty doing a Stephen Halferty lead line, of course, making life pretty easy for the chase car by being super predictable, super online. But Eddie, I think it's going to be too little, too late.
Yeah, but what a name, though. Stephanov. So good they named him twice. McKernan now is going through to the top 8. Give it up for Stephen Halferty!
Yeah, the Bulgarian driver travelling a long way to compete with us here in IBS. Having fun, though. Showing his talent. Qualifying very highly and showing that he can mix it with the best of the Irish. Qualifying in 5th position, making his way to the top 16, but ultimately just that mistake put him out. So, Eddie, we are making progress now. We are making our way through this top 16 very quickly now.
It feels like we're making progress, but it's 2 steps forward and it's 1 step back because we're going back to the Fionn Roach and Diarmuid O'Connell battle. I can't even remember, Mike, what's happened on this one. I think we're on the second run. It looks as though Diarmuid O'Connell is in the lead position. That would be suggestive.
Well, I remember because Diarmuid was sketchy in the chase a little bit. If you remember on the what do you call it, the alley, the power alley, is it, or the back alley?
The back alley.
The back alley, okay. On the back alley,
Diarmuid. Back beyond, Mike.
The back of beyond is where we're from. Diarmuid was very straight on the bottom section. Fionn, pretty nice in the lead. I think it's going to be advantage, not a huge advantage, but a significant advantage to the Mallow man. The Mallow man being Fionn Roach, not the other Mallow man, Diarmuid O'Connell. So
you see one of our drivers, is that Gary Dunn going for a run?
He might be just getting some exercise in.
Diarmuid O'Connell, perhaps. Dennis Murphy.
Yes, it looks
I
like
couldn't see Dennis
Murphy.
Murphy's car down there. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
He is big time into the fitness, Dennis Murphy, so he's possibly just going for a run.
Yeah, just, sitting in the car, wasting time. He's like, I could be getting steps.
Getting the cardio in.
Yeah, might get a 5K in here.
Yeah.
Just in the break. Very quick 5K time. You can do it in 11 minutes. But here we go. Second half of this one. Diarmuid O'Connell to lead in. Fionn Roach for a spot in the grade 8. Full send down that long pit straight. As they fire through that corner, nice lead line here from Diarmuid O'Connell, nailing that outer line perfectly, but he opens the door for a big dive from Fionn Roach, and Fionn Roach shuts it down just where he shut it down before. Is there a gear shift issue there, Mike? Is there a problem for him, or is it down to the car perhaps bogging down? It's such a tricky section of the circuit, and he shuts it down again.
It's
Definitely.
never over till it's over, Ed. Never over till it's over. Massive turnaround there for Diarmuid O'Connell, who was definitely at a disadvantage. But you know what? Fionn Roach not completing the run, and I think that's going to be a simple one, and it is indeed. Diarmuid O'Connell advances to the grade 8. Fionn Roach, the Drift Masters driver, having mechanical issues there, unfortunately for him, putting him out of competition. And Diarmuid O'Connell back after 7 years out of competition, and after 7 years, Eddie, straight into a pro top 8.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. As you say, he has kept himself somewhat fresh by going to practice days over the last number of years, but still, there's nothing like competition. We go back to the start line, though. It's a very interesting one. It's one of the best drifters in the country against one of the most accomplished rally drivers in the country. But Dwayne McKeever is the one with the experience here. He's in his own backyard here, so to speak. This is where he comes alive. But can he be taken down by O'Callaghan, who's on a flyer this weekend?
Yeah, Christopher O'Callaghan looking like a new driver with that new engine set up with, you know what, Dwayne McKeever in the Strom Wheels S15 is a very, very tough opponent, even on an off day. And Christopher O'Callaghan is looking good here, Eddie. He's looking like a new driver, but all of a sudden the commentator's course just makes a big mistake there. Oh, but Dwayne McKeever has shut it down here. Dwayne McKeever, big mechanical issue, Eddie. This championship, Ryusuke Akiba,
This championship has been blown wide
open.
Like,
Ryusuke Akiba might not be at the big disadvantage that we thought he was going to be.
Now look, we still have the second half of this one.
But you know, Dwayne McKeever,
Harry Kerr will
down.
be watching this with a keen eye.
He will,
as will Akiba Kruszczak. But Harry Kerr in particular,
yeah,
was maybe about 50 points, 60 points behind. I'm not sure of the exact figure going into this round.
About 40, I believe.
If he could win this round, look, we still have the second half of this run. Let's not forget contact there.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Eddie.
Now, contact there. That's going to be crucial, Mike, because was that...
Yeah, and Dwayne shuts it down then. So did the contact cause a mechanical in Dwayne's car? So we're going to watch this. Once again, guys, get on YouTube if you're here in person. If you're watching on YouTube, watch this along with us and make your own decision up. The judges are watching this one tightly. Here's the contact. Well spotted, Eddie. I was too busy looking at you. You're very handsome here. You're very distracting. But I shouldn't look at the run. Oh, that's big contact.
Big contact onto the wheel.
I mean, Callaghan was offline. A big time there. The more we look at that, Dwayne was tucking in to get into clipping zone 2.
Mike, you can see his passenger side wheel is straight. His driver's side wheel, where the contact was, is pointing to the right.
It's a bent control arm or tie rod on that car. So Dwayne McKeever in this instant, guys, we can call this one pretty confidently. It's going to be Christopher O'Callaghan's fault. He was offline. Dwayne was bang on line. You saw the contact, did it? We didn't actually spot it initially.
Yeah, very difficult from the camera angle to see that contact. It certainly looked as though O'Callaghan went full send, which is exactly what he did. He was really aggressive. He knew he could trust Dwayne McKeever. He knew he had to go aggressive, but that aggression caught him out, making that contact. And as you can see on the replay, Mike, really significant contact as well. And
it's going to be a
we were almost, signing Dwayne McKeever off there.
We were nearly chiseling his headstone there for this round, Eddie, but he's not out of competition yet. But I would say he's possibly at a 10-0 advantage now. So Dwayne McKeever will be given a competition timeout to fix his S15, meaning that he will have quite a lot of time to get that car, get new parts on that car, get it tracked up, and hopefully he will be able to get that nice and straight and out for the second half of the battle against Christopher Callan. But Eddie, we have to move it on to another man looking to take this championship.
Well, that's it. Harry Kerr, he's going to be watching on with the other battles, but this is going to have huge championship implications for him, because if he bows out of competition at this point against Gary Dunn, well, then that could be his championship hunt completed for 2025. If he can get the win over the hard-charging Gary Dunn, well, it is business as usual then for Harry Kerr as he looks to try and cement his name into the championship fight. But here we go. Gary Dunn, he's battling with this car all weekend, but he's got himself into a top 16. He's not going to back down from Harry Kerr here, as he keeps steady proximity through the first 3 sections. Big dive now from Gary Dunn as he looks to slow that car. Oh, just almost struggles to keep the car on angle, but he keeps himself in the fight as he looks for the door one more time. Harry Kerr giving him a perfect lead line to chase, and Gary Dunn stays in it here as he makes the dive onto the door. Through the smoke he goes. Gary Dunn, Harry Kerr, Dunn. Whoa, big kick up of dirt as he almost loses it over the line, but he's given it absolutely everything, Mike.
Flat.
Pedaling as hard as he possibly can in that borrowed car to keep himself in the fight against one of the best in the business.
Yeah, this is where it gets really enjoyable for me, Eddie, especially down here in Watergrasshill. It always seems to get so much better according as you whittle down the battle brackets. A lot of the mistakes are out of the drivers at that stage, and you start to see tighter and tighter battles coming up, and that is exactly what we're seeing for this one. And as you said there, Gary Dunn just dropping a wheel at the end there, kicking up the dirt, very spectacular, maybe getting caught a little bit in the smoke there.
Yeah, but I think all important thing for Gary Dunn is he's exactly where he'd want to be at this point in the battle. He's still in with a chance here, Mike.
Yeah, just hearing there, Tommy Smith spotting there. Car is down on track, and we've had a debeated tyre on the Altezza of Gary Dunn, so that is possibly why he ran wide at the end there. So the tyre is basically off the rim. These guys, we always mention it, Eddie, but if it's your first time here or first time watching...
Yeah, it possibly happened at that point, maybe, when he dropped that wheel.
Or maybe, exactly, could have happened because of the wheel drop, and he is calling a 5-minute rule. We have heard from Sean Healy.
On that side, so that would...
Yeah, if you look at the left, so the guys will be running very low tyre pressures on the rears of these cars in order to find grip. Essentially, it's like having a half-flat tyre. Your tyre sits half flat on the surface of the track and essentially gives you a bigger contact patch, as well as allowing the tyre to squirm around a little bit on the rim and maybe find that last little bit of grip, like you see a drag racing tyre doing possibly. But the contact patch will get bigger and bigger the lower tyre pressure you're running. However, the problem with that being, if you go too low, or if you are running very low tyre pressure and you go slightly off track like we just saw, the tyre does not have enough pressure in it to keep it on the rim, and it can result in exactly this, a D-bead. Which not so bad for Gary there, because he gets a 5-minute rule in order to change it. But if that happens in the middle of a run, Eddie, that's pretty much you out.
Yeah, I think, look, you got to say, well, obviously as a result, it seems, of going off, but had it happened at another stage throughout the run, he may have been facing a 10-0 going into the second half of this one. As it stands, he's still in it, and certainly there'll be a big crew of people on the sides of both drivers hoping to see them progress into the grade 8, but only one of them will get that opportunity. We only have 4 more spaces in the grade 8, and it's 8 drivers looking for those spots, but they're fighting tooth and nail. They're giving it absolutely everything, and coming up against Harry Kerr, Gary Dunn would have known that he had to give it absolutely everything. He drove the wheels off that car, and it's been quite a day, Mike. It's been so exciting, and the sun's out here in Watergrasshill. We don't often get conditions like this down here. It's usually perfect sunshine or torrential rain, and thankfully we've got the former in this situation, because it creates just an absolute spectacle.
Yeah, absolutely it does, Eddie. It creates a great spectacle, and we are lucky to be down here enjoying, as we almost have a collision in the burnout box, we're lucky to be down here enjoying such fantastic driving and this great spectacle that is Irish drifting and the Irish Drift Series. So we are going to warm the cars for the next battle, one also with potentially championship implications. If Kuba can have a really good final 3 rounds, who knows, Eddie? He could be back in the title fight. You don't know. It would be a big ask, but he's certainly still in the hunt for a title podium, or a championship podium, sorry. And it is going to be Jakob Kruszczak against an old buddy of mine, Dennis Murphy, in the Bandit Drifters 180SX. Dennis Murphy being a complete superstar. James Dolan pretty much building that car. Dennis Murphy arrives and drives, the superstar that he is, sits in, says, "Thanks very much for your car, buddy. I'll drive it now.
He even has people to grid that car from. I saw it this morning in practice. He was off being a superstar, signing autographs, handing out his phone number to, all the ladies. No, he wasn't doing that.
Yeah, but you have to throw it in there.
All sorts of trouble.
Yeah.
But no, and people gridding his car for him. So he really is the arrive and drive hero. Here we go. He's got an opportunity to get into the Grade 8. Can he take down one of the on-form drivers the last 2 seasons, Kruszczak? Big speed, big angle, throws it into the first corner with no regard for his own safety. Gets back on the power now as he makes the big pull down that back straight. Block of the dive here from Dennis Murphy.
Whoa!
That is what every other driver has been trying to do, Mike. Only Dennis Murphy can pull it off, but it does cost him because he doesn't get it right as he comes out of that section, loses some ground to Kruszczak. Jakub on the perfect line, throws it onto the wall. Murphy throws it on angle. He kicks up some dust and gets rid of the cone. Oh my God!
Wow.
It's been exciting. It's been exhausting.
Guys, round of applause for
Mike. This has just been such a live wire day. It's been crazy.
It's been nuts. It's absolutely been nuts. Round of applause there for Dennis Murphy throwing it all on the line and giving us such entertainment here. Like you said, Eddie, that's exactly what every other driver was trying to do. Didn't quite pull it off. Everyone else didn't quite pull it off, to be honest. Dennis Murphy did, but then got a little bit caught in the pocket and didn't just have the little bit of room to get the car back up and going again, and had a mistake as a result. And then the rest of his lap was a big compromise line-wise. So again, risk reward, went for the dive, pulled it off, but didn't quite just give himself the room to get out of the pocket and get the power down and maintain line in the 180 there. So I would say it has to be an advantage to Kuba there after the very messy second half of that run from Dennis Murphy. But loving the dive, loving the aggression, and it's still...
I think
it could go either way.
Yeah, it really could. But I think it's such a challenge when you come up against someone like Kuba, who's so fast, but puts on, such a consistent lead line every time he goes out. He never puts himself out of the conversation going into the second half of the battle, meaning that in the lead position, every driver that he's going up against, they need to push as hard as they can because they just can't, give themselves a break for even a moment. He really puts the pressure on right from the start in his lead and makes it so difficult for drivers to get back into the conversation. Here we go. Second half of this one, Dennis Murphy now in that lead position, looking to try and force an error from Jakub. And Jakub goes full ham nice and early. Oh, but Murphy backs out of it and looks like he's shutting it down, Mike.
Yeah, Murphy shuts it down. Looks like a mechanical issue for Murphy. And unfortunately, we're going to be robbed of the second half of this battle, apart from the initiation. So Murphy shuts it down. It's been a day of mechanicals, Eddie. It's a tough track on cars, that's for sure. And maybe Murphy there possibly just, break his shaft on a reinitiation or something. Not exactly sure what happened there, but it's enough anyway, and I would say that will be all she wrote for Dennis Murphy. And yeah, we can announce, guys, going through to the Grade 8. It is indeed Jakub Kruszczak on his anniversary. Goes through to the Grade 8 on his anniversary, and presenting his lovely wife Natalia with some flowers there on the start-finish straight just before the top 32, and the old romantic that he is. And Dennis Murphy, is back under his own power. Maybe he was just as scared of himself what he was going to do, Eddie, and he backed out of it.
If I was him, I'd be scared too.
I'd be scared of myself.
Yeah.
I'm capable of doing anything here. I better just stop now.
You know that unknown fact, no mirrors in his house.
There's no mirrors in Dennis Murphy's house.
Because if he got up out of bed in the middle of the night to go to the toilet and he caught a reflection of himself, he'd be terrified.
Well, you learn something new every day, Ed.
There you go. That's a fact.
And Munster set dancing champion, multiple Munster set dancing champion as well.
There you go.
So move it along.
Well, we move it along and we move it back so often. We've got to do
back
this.
is right.
Back and forth and forth. It's Harry Kerr to take on Gary Dunn. Second half of this one, D-beat from Dunn as he pedalled that car to within an inch of his life. Now he's in the lead position and he's got the craziest chase driver of them all behind him. Here we go. Gary Dunn to lead in Harry Kerr. Both drivers nice and wide through that first zone. Dunn again just washes a little bit too wide. Now they make the big pull down the back straight. Dunn chose it onto big angle, tries to slow that car down, but here comes Harry Kerr as he looks to make a dive onto the door. Gary offline a little bit as he comes out of that second hairpin. And again, once again, opens it. Oh, almost contact as they come back up the hill. Dunn drops away, they go onto the wall. Here comes Harry Kerr, drives onto the door. He pushes Gary Dunn across the line. Watergrasshill, give it up for Gary Dunn and Harry Kerr.
You know what, Ed? I think Harry Kerr is having another one of those days.
I think he is, Mike. I think he is, and he's really feeling it. Looks like he's in the zone. But you know what? Even though it looks as though he may be moving through, Gary Dunn gave it his absolute all, and I think he'll be going home proud. It might be time for Tommy to crack open the Heinekens.
Yeah, as Harry Kerr lets some tire smoke out of the car. Guys, they're out of the cars.
Vaping.
He is probably vaping. Let's hear it once again for Harry Kerr and Gary Dunn there putting on a show in the top 16. Thank you guys for your appreciation, and just waiting for the scores to drop in and make it official. We can do. Harry Kerr goes through to the great hit, continuing his championship charge. The Ballymoney Bandit doing it all there in the second run, no problem to him, and I think he's having one of those days, and he will be facing off against the winner of the second half of the battle. The second half of the battle between Dwayne McKeever. I'll just stop a second. The noisiest car in the world.
And of course, worth noting, Gary Dunn will be driving that car at Drift Masters at Ferropolis later on in the year.
Oh,
so,
excellent.
getting very valuable seat time behind the wheel. But obviously, that'll be great for him and the family and the team to have that to look forward to later in the year. We will go back to the start line, where it will be Jack Mwiny to take on David Garvey. 2 more spots up for grabs in the Grade 8.
Yeah, well, we have one of the most powerful cars on the grid with 800 brake horsepower versus definitely the least powerful car on the grid. I'm guessing it's about 240 horsepower in the hands of Jack Mwiny. But you remember what happened last time against David Curtis. David Garvey not having as many issues in the chase position here, definitely taming the JZ power, maybe the extra torque in the 6-cylinder, making it a little bit easier to left foot brake and keep the car slowed. Great job here by Garvey as he surges forward into the pocket now of Jack Mwiny, and you have to say David Garvey doing a great job there, Eddie.
Doing as much as he could do, but Jack Mwiny averaging 1 million clutch kicks per corner around here in Watergrasshill. Like literally every 2 seconds there's a clutch kick just to keep that car on rev and on that wide line. If you watch it the next time he goes around the circuit, just watch the amount of times that the wheels stall up just for a second as he kicks the clutch there. Incredible the work that he's having to put in. There'll be a huge size difference between the muscles in his left leg and his right leg when he finishes up this championship
He'll
season.
have a monster of a left calf on him.
Yeah, if he continues driving these underpowered cars.
Yeah, again, just have to go back to the Corolla. Like, if you haven't watched round 2 in Bishop's Court, be sure to go back, have a watch back of it.
It was an absolute masterclass in underpowered car driving.
It was a masterclass until the sunshine came and dried up the track. But go back and watch that one, guys. 170 brake horsepower, 20 valve AE86, took down several 6-cylinder turbo cars on his way to the Final Four against Ryusei Akiba, where he was eventually outgunned in the dry. But be sure to go back and watch that. It is a sight to behold. But you know what, Eddie? I think in the dry conditions here in Watergrasshill, it might be too much of an ask for him to take down Dave Garvey here.
Yeah, I think so, Mike. The mistakes from Garvey. But Garvey could have the pace here now. The question is, can Mwiny stay with him? As Garvey washes wide, Mike tucks it back in, maybe enough, but a big straight in here from Mwiny as he gets caught. And look at the separation now as they come down that back straight. As Garvey puts it onto a perfect outside line. Just treads the needle perfectly. Mwiny, no real answer, but you know what, Mike? It's quite sensible. He's staying on the qualifying line. He's not making dives. The judges will take that into consideration, but it's a huge gap that's opened up here. No proximity from Mwiny, and will that be enough to overturn some of the errors in the chase position on the previous run? Well, we'll wait and see. Yeah,
Garvey not perfect there by any means, a little bit shallow there, especially on the second hairpin, but I think that lack of proximity was way too much. And yes, we can confirm it is David Garvey goes through to the Great 8. Guys, big round of applause for Jack Mwiny making it to the top 16, getting that car through qualifying and getting it into the top 16. Crazy stuff. But that is a step too far to take down David Garvey, who held back the 800 brake horsepower JZ of Nathan Corcoran in the chase position there very effectively. Now we move it back. This is our I think this is our last run of the top 16, Eddie. Last run of the top 16, I believe.
It certainly is, yeah, Mike. One spot up for grabs. Dwayne McKeever, Chris O'Callaghan. Well, we saw the contact on the first run. Initially, then it looked as though Dwayne McKeever, just pulled out of the run, but there was damage caused to his car. The judges deemed that damage to be as a result of contact from Christopher O'Callaghan through that first corner. So we do believe that we have a 10-0 advantage in favour of Dwayne McKeever going into the second half of this one. And let's assume that Dwayne McKeever won't put any too many won't put his feet wrong with that advantage. He'll know to give some ground here to O'Callaghan. And that's certainly what he's doing as Callahan washes wide. McKeever keeping his distance, keeping a safe level of proximity, giving himself loads of time to react to the line and to the slowing of the lead driver. As he gets back on the power now, O'Callaghan doing a respectable job here, fulfilling that lead driver goal. Getting wide, just flirting with top of the wheel, but keeps it on the white line as McKeever goes a little bit deep into outer zone 8. Throws it now onto the wall as he comes hunting for the door that one last time, and they go across the line. Give it up for Dwayne McKeever and Chris O'Callaghan.
Yeah, very measured chase there from Dwayne McKeever. And we can announce going through to the Great 8. And his reward will be facing Harry Kerr. It's Dwayne McKeever goes through to the Great 8. And he's going to face off against his championship rival, Harry Kerr. And that is going to be a battle full of fireworks. Christopher O'Callaghan ultimately making the mistake on the first one there already and bowing out of competition. But you know what? We're seeing improvements every round from Callaghan. Looking better and better all the time, and I'm sure by the end of the season we'll be seeing him shoving closer to that ever
but look, he has that first battle win under his belt, Mike, and you know that's a real confidence boost for all drivers. They really start to push on from there, knowing that they have what it takes to take a battle and take a win. And I think Chris, you know, is obviously a very experienced driver behind the wheel of rally cars, very accomplished driver. He will certainly be improving as the championship season goes on. So here we go into the Great 8 we go. 8 drivers remaining, 3 spots on a podium up for grabs. They're all edging closer to the silverware, to the champagne showers later on this afternoon. Dean Byrne will be taking on Enda Lyons, Enda the higher qualifier of the two.
Yeah, Dean Byrne looking so good, Eddie, all the way through the battle so far. I mean, is he going to be a dark horse for the final? I don't know. But in the lines, like I said, he keeps his car in the lines and doesn't really knock himself out of competition. So I think this one is going to be a nice, consistent battle. I've been wrong in the past, though, Eddie, once. And possibly might be again here because it's been a crazy battle bracket so far. All from the top 32 all the way down. So let's see. In the lines, the higher qualifier leads us in. Puts foot to floor here in Watergrasshill. Flicks the car in over the hill here. Dean Byrne is right there with him. In the lines, washes slightly wide. Has to adjust on clipping zone 2. Dean Byrne is caught in the pocket now. Has to make the dive. Dean Byrne is very straight making the dive. Does maintain the drift just about. Now, in the lines, transitions the beautiful red 180 SX back. 2 beautiful cars. Very similar cars with very different liveries though. And what a beautiful visual feast this is. 2 almost identical body kits on those cars, and they cross the line, guys. Big round of applause for Dean Byrne and In the Lions.
Yeah, really nice run from both guys, and you have to say Dean Byrne is really starting to grow into the championship, Mike. Looking really strong here. It was a very good chase from him, but there was that straighten as he tries to scrub that speed. Maybe not for too long. I'm not sure if it's going to hurt his position or his score, or how that run is scored too much. I don't think the judges weigh too heavily on it. Maybe I'm wrong, but certainly did notice that little bit of a straighten. But you know, he made it work, and he made the rest of it work, and it was very aggressive. The judges will like that as well. So a lot of positives there from Dean Byrne. But from Enda Lyons' point of view, opened the door very nicely, giving that perfect lead line for Dean Byrne to chase. And now he just needs to hope for the same and try and give a similar proximity or better throughout the run.
Very well said, Ed. I have to say, yeah. So swapped them around, and Dean Byrne leads us in. And watch for the crazy entry. Loving Byrne's driving style. We saw him in Bishop's Court as well. Absolutely firing the car, Japanese style, almost Kawabata style onto full lock. And he's going to do it here on Watergrasshill. He goes to the right. He flicks it back to the left. Actually, a little bit more tinted from Byrne. It's Lyons that fires it in almost backwards, actually. Not Byrne that time. So what do I know?
Lyons making a big mistake though, Mike. He was quite caught up on the inside. He's going to make a big dive again. He's not going to make it work this time. Perhaps throwing it away. I'm sure the spotter was in his ear telling him he needed to go full attack. He needed to be on the door the entirety of the run, and perhaps just pushing that a little bit too hard. The error is starting to creep in, but Dean Byrne on an absolute flyer. Contact as they go to cross the line. Give it up, Watergrasshill, for Dean Byrne and Enda Lyons.
Yeah, 2 fantastic looking cars. Very similar cars as well. And we do have a result, guys. And going through to the final four, Ed, I believe, is it? It is indeed. It's Dean Byrne goes through to the final four.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, probably the first time that Dean Byrne has ever made it this far in pro competition. So he will be absolutely ecstatic. And he's going to be jumping up, climbing up the championship order. We call it moving day. He's certainly making moves in the right direction. And with driving like that, could we see him on a podium later on this afternoon? Certainly wouldn't be ruling out.
Yeah, it's perfect conditions here, Eddie. We're set for a fantastic final four here. The sun has gone in temporarily at least. It'll keep the temperatures very slightly cooler. It should help the cars slightly. It's perfect conditions. We're getting great driving now according as the battle brackets whittle down. The consistency is ramping up. And this one is going to be an interesting one as well. It's a lot of experience from different eras of drifting on the grid right now, Eddie.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's going to be the case pretty much with every battle that Diarmuid O'Connell is in. But he's coming up against Stephen Halferty right now. And Halferty, with the new engine underneath the bonnet of that E36. And he has been on a charge here this weekend, already taking down Ryusei Akiba. And he's coming up against Diarmuid O'Connell now. O'Connell, I think, going to have to be at his best here because he hasn't had the consistency that Halferty has shown. We when we speak about Halferty, that's what we talk about. We talk about that consistency, that constant line. Never knocks himself out of competition. You really have to go and beat him. Here we go. Diarmuid O'Connell chasing in hard, trying to keep up with the higher horsepowered E36, and the gap opens up. It's a big dive here and a big lunge to try and get onto the door, but he just can't find it. Halferty near perfect in the lead position, absolutely flying through the circuit. Here comes the proximity from Diarmuid O'Connell as he looks to make the late dives, the late charge onto the door, but is it too little, too late for Diarmuid O'Connell as they go across the line? Give it up for Stephen Halferty and Diarmuid O'Connell. Well, as you can see on the replay, if you're watching from home, big dive nice and early from Diarmuid O'Connell, costing him. He just couldn't hang with Halferty, and Halferty, well, he's been near perfect all day long. Qualified a little bit down the order. Well, he was just outside the top 10 and 12 position, but he's given himself a good position here by taking down Ryusei Akiba in the top 32, and as he starts to make his way further through the competition, he's looking more and more comfortable. Could we see him facing off against Dean Byrne in the final four? Well, he's got to go one more time around this circuit with Diarmuid O'Connell. O'Connell in the lead position. I'm sure the spotter will be in the ear of Stephen Halferty saying, you know what, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to move mountains. There have been mistakes from the chase driver. O'Connell wasn't perfect, so just be tactical, just be sensible. Don't overstretch, don't overreach, and you'll be going through to the final four. Here we go, O'Connell to lead in Halferty. Nice entry from O'Connell. Halferty gets caught on the inside, maybe going a little bit too aggressive early on, but now starts to pick up the pace here as he throws a lunge onto the door, throws on the anchors to try and slow that car down, manages it nicely as they negotiate that second hairpin. O'Connell now doing a good job in the lead position, giving Halferty a good lead line to chase as Halferty makes a big lunge onto the door one final time, and Watergrasshill as they cross the line. Let's hear you make some noise for Stephen Halferty and for Diarmuid O'Connell. Mike, I'm exhausted.
You okay there, Eddie?
I'm running on empty here, but this has been exhilarating. It's been action-packed all day long. You know, we don't always get battle after battle where the drivers are just producing absolute brilliance and exciting moments, but we've had no lulls in the action here today.
Zero, Eddie, zero. Even if it was sketchy in the top 32, it was action-packed, it was very exciting, and it was full of talking points and drama-filled. As always, it is in the top 32. But yeah, breathless, Eddie, and very, very entertaining as always here in Watergrasshill.
So here we go, decision dropping in. Who's going to go through to the top four? Give it up for Stephen Halferty, moving on to face off against Dean Byrne. We lose Diarmuid O'Connell. Give a round of applause to both drivers. Mike, this is setting up to be an electric final at round 3 of the Lucky Day competition Irish Drift Series. The guys in attendance here today, if you've come out for to watch here today, you've been treated to an absolute top-class show. If you're joining us online, make sure and comment. Let us know where you're watching from. It's been emotional, Mike. I am emotional watching this, but you know what? We still have 2 more spots in the final 4, and we have to give out some silverware and some champagne later on in about a half an hour's time. So don't go anywhere. It's only getting started here, and we have plenty more action to come here at round 3 in Watergrasshill.
Yeah, and speaking of the podium, Eddie, please, guys, feel free to join us on the podium. It's a tradition in IDS. all the crowd can get down to the podium, join the drivers down there, and join in the podium celebrations, get up close and personal to the cars and drivers.
And Mike, look at your screen. And if you're in attendance, just look to your right, because coming down onto the gridding area, ready to warm their tyres, 2 drivers who need no introduction.
Wow.
This one.
Yeah, 2 of the real heavy
is
hitters.
going to define the look of the championship going into the last 2 rounds. Will it be Harry Kerr closing the gap and perhaps taking the lead of the championship? Or will it be McKeever stretching his lead and cementing his name as the man to beat with 2 rounds to go? He was only going to compete at round 1, but he was so happy with how he performed, so happy with the borrowed car that he said, you know what, I'm coming back. I want to take another national championship, another one to my name. The CV hasn't had a win on it for a long time, a championship win that is, and he's back here looking to put his name in Irish history one more time.
He is indeed, Ed, and no better man to do it, to be honest. But you know what, Harry Kerr, we said it about Harry, if he gets out of the right side of the bed, literally nobody can stop him. We spoke about it earlier, Ed. He took out Alan Hines, who ended up winning the championship last year. He took out Alan Hines right here in Watergrasshill with possibly the best chase run I've ever seen in my entire life, and I am not messing. That's including D1 Japan, that's including Formula Drift, Drift Masters, all the Irish series over the years, everything.
It was an absolute spectacle.
It was a
And
spectacle.
let's not forget, at round 2, he beat none other than Dwayne McKeever.
Dwayne McKeever. So, guys, get the phones out, get yourselves ready. Whatever happens in this one, as Dwayne McKeever plays mind games, almost crashes into Harry Kerr in the
flashes
burnout
the lights as well. These 2 boys are ready. They are ready to put on a show. They won't mind. It's all a bit of fun as well. They'll be absolutely loving the thoughts of coming up against each other, because they'll know that they need to be at their best. They know they can trust each other. They will be leaving nothing, no stone unturned to try and take it through to the next round of this one. The light goes red, it goes amber, and it goes green. We are live. Here we go. McKeever to lead in. Harry Kerr. Watergrasshill, are you ready for this one? As they come down the straight, McKeever fires it in. But here comes Harry Kerr as he makes a big... McKeever washes wide! Harry Kerr makes the overtake. A legal overtake at the only opportunity on the track to do so. And Mike, if you're in the briefing this morning, Kieran Hines said, if you make an overtake on the lead driver at that point of the track, you will have a 10-0 advantage going into the second half of the run. And could we see Harry Kerr taking down Dwayne McKeever in back-to-back rounds here at the Irish Drift Series and blow the championship wide open going into the final 2 rounds?
He's blown the doors off the championship here if this one ends up the way that it's looking, Eddie. What's happening? What's happening? You know, I did not expect that to happen. Obviously, Harry Kerr with the perfect, looking at it here, perfect line. Dwayne McKeever shuts it down. The Strom Wheels S15 losing power for some reason. Dwayne McKeever calling a 5-minute rule. And Eddie, what is happening here at IDS as the sun comes out?
Yeah, like absolutely crazy. And you know what? It makes me feel a whole lot better, because that's exactly how I lost my battle yesterday, watching wide on that first corner. And you know, if Dwayne McKeever can do it, well, I don't need to feel so bad about it. But Harry Kerr, I mean, he was a little bit back, but he is right in this championship if he could just make one clean pass of the circuit. But he's going to have an angry Dwayne McKeever hunting down his door. This is not one to be missed.
A very angry Northern Smoke Machine. So just looking in my phone here on the IDS Facebook page, Harry Kerr coming into this round sits on 143 points. Dwayne McKeever's on 190.
And Dwayne McKeever is out of competition, Mike. Out of competition, meaning Harry Kerr progresses on to the final 4. The championship is alive.
The championship is wide open. Dwayne McKeever bows out. Ryusuke Akiba bows out very early, meaning that Harry Kerr, if he wins this event, Eddie, he will be right up there with Dwayne McKeever once again in this championship. And you know what? Harry Kerr is doing something which is a very, very, very hard thing to do. Dylan Garvey might have done it recently, but you've got, you know, you have the whole rest of the field. You have all the, you know, the really good drivers that on their day could take it. Stephen Halferty being one, okay? Great driver, maybe won't win every event, wouldn't be the favourite to win, but could win it. And you have a whole glut of them. Dean Byrne, the guy he's facing off, would be in that group. Kuba would be in that group. But you have the top guys. You have your Shanahans. Back in the day, you had your DMAC. you have James Dean, you have Dwayne McKeever. Dylan Garvey gets into that conversation the way he was driving recently. Maybe had a couple of mechanicals to keep him out, but he gets into that conversation. I'm going to say that Harry Kerr is joining that group round by round.
I think so. Look, Harry Kerr does a lot of driving. He's a very aggressive driver, but there's no way you can't put him into the conversation, Mike. And he's definitely, as you say, with every round that goes past, he's competing over in the UK. He's driving in Scotland regularly. But with every championship round here, and if he was to win this championship this year, he would be winning it with Dwayne McKeever on the grid. And you know what? There's drivers in the past who've won championships, but they don't feel as though it's been as big an accomplishment because the big names weren't there. Well, one of the biggest names in the sport, in the country, has been on the grid through all 3 rounds so far. And Harry Kerr is in the mix, and it now looks as though he'll have taken him down on 2 occasions. And we know that there was problems with the car from Dwayne McKeever after that contact, but Dwayne McKeever knew that he had to go in harder and faster into that first corner than he had all day because he had Harry Kerr, because of the respect that he has for Harry Kerr in that chase position. And that could have been the difference. That could have been what led to the mistake, as Harry Kerr makes a parade lap essentially here as
wow, look at this from Harry Kerr.
I mean, absolutely phenomenal.
Phenomenal. All he had to do was initiate to show that he could actually do the battle. He doesn't have to do this. He's using it as a practice lap. And guys, Harry Kerr is after putting in a 90-something qualifying run there easily, just for your entertainment. Huge round of applause goes up for him, rightly so. And what a spectacle we're seeing here at IDS. I'm almost lost for words. It's just crazy.
Kieran Hines says, why didn't he do that in qualifying? Tomas Falvey says 99 out of 100.
You know why he didn't do it, Eddie?
Tom Murphy? A 0.
0 from Tom Murphy for showing off. You know what, Eddie? You know why he didn't do it in qualifying? It might have been nerves. It might have been being a little bit tentative not to make the mistake. The pressure was off there. No pressure. All he had to do was initiate. He was driving from his heart. Therefore, you can put down that kind of lap. Now, across the bracket, look at this. Oh, but below, in fact, sorry. At the bottom of the bracket, look at this. Kuba versus, in the borrowed car, Dave Garvey. I mean, Dave Garvey is doing massive things in a borrowed car here. And this guy will be joining Harry Kerr in the final.
Yeah, the winner of this one. Going into the final 4. And again, serious aggression from Garvey. But look at the line. This is a spectacle. I mean, this guy, Kuba.
Look at the dive.
I'm going to call him a different name, but Jakub Kruszczak, he's just phenomenal. And he's forcing everybody that comes in to chase him to do things that they're not comfortable doing. They have to go faster than they've ever gone before to try and keep him. And look at the mistakes that it's creating. David Garvey looked so comfortable, so consistent all afternoon. You put him up against the speed of Jakub Kruszczak, and all of a sudden, look at the mistakes that he's making. Look at that line.
Yeah, I mean, Garvey made a huge mistake, as you said, trying to make up that gap here. He braked very, very late. Watch it here. Sacrificed the clips, brakes very late. Can't stick with the pace of Kuba. Almost makes contact, puts 3 wheels off. It's a huge mistake from Garvey. It's almost like a 9-1 to Kuba at that stage, to be honest. And Kuba, the speed that Kuba picked up just on the initiation there as he flicked the car to the left was absolutely crazy. De Silvia just digging those rear tyres in and catapulting the car forward towards clipping point 1. As we have a very excited crowd on the bank. They're chilling out, putting on their jumpers on the bank. It might be getting a bit chilly here, but the drivers will be delighted with that, Eddie.
Yeah, they certainly will. It's I tell you what, Mike, one thing, it is torturously warm in those racing suits inside those cars this weekend.
Yeah, 40 degrees plus inside in the cars. The tunnels get hot. The whole chassis gets super hot. You actually really, sometimes in the sunshine especially, you can't touch your gear lever without gloves on. It gets so hot. So yeah, very tough. It's a physical game as well, the drifting, because it gets so hot in the car. You need a bit of endurance, and you need to actually replace fluids that you're sweating and everything over the course of the day.
It's quite fortunate that I'm in peak physical conditions.
Exactly,
so
a specimen.
Yeah, absolutely, no difficulty for me. But some of the other guys really do struggle with it. Here we go, second half of this one. Advantage firmly in favour of Jakub Kruszczak.
Yeah, big advantage to Kuba after the mistakes from Garvey there. And is Kuba about to join Harry Kerr in the semi-final? We will know in about 1 minute's time.
Yeah, but he's just got to contain himself here as he leaves a big gap, but he doesn't initiate, Mike.
Kuba does not initiate.
He
forgot. Did he forget? Didn't forget, I'd say.
I doubt he forgot, but
no.
David Garvey.
All jokes aside,
will
Eddie,
be looking at this and wondering,
Yeah, all jokes aside, this is...
Drifting always requires an element of luck, but David Garvey's had a huge bout of luck there, Mike, because he was nowhere in the first half of the battle. Was there enough mistakes on his end to justify a one more time here? But, you know, Jakob's pulled up there.
Well,
you'd assume there's issues with the car.
You would assume there's issues with the car. All jokes aside, very unfortunate for Jakob Kruszczak there. Tries to initiate and seems to lose all power there in the S14.9. So, very unfortunate for Kuba. He was away with the win. And you know, Eddie, it's been a day of turnarounds. It's been a day of battles almost being decided on the first one. And the next thing, the second battle throws up a huge surprise and turns it around. It's happened 4 times, I would say, today off the top of my head. So the guys looking under the car there, looking under Kuba's car. As Tom Murphy, our judge here, tells David Garvey to do the lotto.
I don't think doing the lotto will do him any favours, because I think he's ridden his luck as much as he's going to get, as much as he could possibly do. But he's smiling, you know, not the way he would have wanted it, but it's looking like a spot in the final 4.
It is indeed, yeah. Just to confirm. Yeah, so just confirming, it is indeed David Garvey moves through to the final 4. And Harry Kerr awaits him in the final 4.
And look at that, thumbs up from Jakob as he, he looks across. Give him a round of applause. What a driver that young man is. And, well, you know what?
What a lover.
Yeah, he was on a charge there for the championship. That could just be, you know, the run that halts it for him. He was right in the mix, but... You know, it was looking like he was going to go into the final 4 against Harry Kerr, but for Harry Kerr, this is, well, he's now going to have to take down David Garvey, and David Garvey, as you say, is on a spree of good luck here, so who knows, but...
the one thing with breaking down, Eddie, is you get a free spin in the cool truck with John Shanahan, which is a dream for everybody, really.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's...
Like a nightmare ride.
Or a nightmare, as Kieran Hines says here. So, yeah, John Shanahan could try to get that car going. No. I don't have a pin, Eddie. We're after losing it in our excitement here, but there's only 4 drivers left, so we'll figure it out from here.
I think we'll manage.
Sean Healy, our track controller, stole our pin, I think. So, as we wait for Jakob Kruszczak to get recovered, hopefully nothing too serious wrong with that car. We have our final 4 here at IDS round 3. In Watergrasshill Pro Competition gridded, it is Dean Byrne versus Stephen Halferty. A very, very close battle, I would say, on paper. And it's going to be Harry Kerr against David Garvey, who has ridden his luck through the competition. But you know what, Eddie? He still stayed in it. If he put 4 wheels off and made a huge, huge mistake in the first one, it would be a one more time situation. But he deserves to be here at the same time. Yes, he's gotten lucky, but at the same time... He's kept himself in the running.
It just goes to show it's always worth continuing on with the run as best as you can and just hope that something happens in the next run. And you just never know, and especially with these cars being so highly strung, you just cannot predict what's going to happen. And quite often we see situations like this where, you know, drivers experience mechanical problems that rule them out or knock them out of the competition. And if you've kept yourself in it, you just never know, and that's exactly what David Garvey did, and he finds himself now in a final 4 where he'll be going up against Harry Kerr. And you know what? At this point in the competition, he won't mind what happens from here. He's got 2 shots at a podium, regardless of what happens in that final 4 battle.
Yeah, and podiums, as we always say, podiums in IDS, they're so hard got. The trophies that you earn from them, they're things that you'll cherish for the rest of your life. They'll take pride of place on the mantelpiece. They don't give them out willy-nilly. You have to earn it. There's no easy way of getting them, to be honest. And each one of them, I would say, each one of those plastic trophies costs a lot of money. So David Garvey will be licking his lips.
Put it this way, they cost a lot more for the drivers to get them than they do for the championship to get them out. That's for sure.
That's for sure, yeah.
Championship to buy them. But, yeah, they are something to be treasured, and there's no feeling like taking home. Well, I can't imagine what the feeling is like taking home a Pro Championship trophy, but certainly any trophy that you get at the Irish Drift Series is hard fought and well earned.
It is well earned, exactly. So, Eddie, any predictions? I can't see past Harry Kerr at the moment, but are you going to make a call?
I think we're going to see a Harry Kerr Dean Byrne final.
Okay.
and I think we're going to see Harry Kerr on the top step, Dean Byrne take second, and I think we're going to see Stephen Halferty taking third position.
I can't call it between Byrne and Halferty. But no, the way the day has been going, let's not rule out Dave Garvey just yet, because something is on his side.
I think that battle's a little bit more obvious on paper, the one between Harry Kerr and David Garvey. I think Halferty's not going to beat himself.
No, absolutely not.
This is uncharted territory for Dean Byrne. First time in a Final Four.
Might get a bit giddy.
He might get over-aggressive. And if he goes over-aggressive, there's two spots in particular on this track where we've seen it time and time again. Over-aggression doesn't work. Yeah. I think that's going to be the make or break. But I think, based on what we've seen so far, if Dean Byrne is to continue in the fashion that he's had and with the driving that he's had up to this point, I think he'll have too much speed for Halferty. But Halferty's definitely going to have the consistency and the cool head on the shoulders. But do you know what the beauty of it is, Mike? We're about to find out. We don't have to make the predictions because it's about to happen right in front of our eyes. And the future will become the present. Then it'll become the past.
That's how it works, Eddie.
That's how it works.
Unless you can reverse the time.
Unless and we're not time benders, Mike, so we will not be going back in time. Once it's run, it is done.
Exactly, Ed. Exactly. So,
as we have our media crew who's been following us all weekend.
Stalking us, Eddie.
Stalking us.
James there from Shift AM, stalking us all weekend. Creepily so, almost. But yeah.
Yeah,
no, jokes aside.
Man that has serious dirt on us. If we have to keep as a friend, because the outtakes from the series that we're running, Mike, are, let's just say, they don't leave much to the imagination.
No,
so,
there might be a swear word or two in there as well.
So we got to keep James as a good friend. But here we go, Final Four battle between Halferty and Dean. Halferty is the higher qualifier to lead them in. Here we go, Dean Byrne. Will he control that aggression? Will he control the speed as he fires down the inside? Looks for the door of Halferty, and he has a better line through that corner than Halferty does, but Halferty now puts the speed on as they take it down the back lane, and Dean Byrne throws it onto the door. Look at this controlled aggression from Dean Byrne. He's holding back. This is the most composure we've ever seen from him, and he looks right at home in the Final Four against Stephen Halferty. But Halferty nailing that lead line, throws it onto the wall. Byrne throws it onto the door. They throw it across the line. Watergrasshill, give it up for Stephen Halferty and Dean Byrne.
Yeah,
well, Mike, it's wide open. Wide open.
Wide open. Nice inside line there from Byrne, hugging the curb. Maybe not what you should do as a lead driver, but as a chase, you'd allow it almost. Perfect outside line from Halferty. Drops a wheel slightly, possibly. Very slightly. Not a big deduction, though. Look at that. Look at the flick onto angle there from Halferty. Beautiful driving style. Now, Dean Byrne starting to find the proximity then over the last third of the lap. Perfect outside line from Halferty. Maybe not the perfect chase from Byrne, but keeping himself well in contention. Maybe a slight advantage to the lead after that one, I would say.
Here's what he's done. He's forced the hand of Halferty. I think he's in it enough that Halferty can't sit back. He can't take a chance. He has to go for the door. And that's exactly what he wants.
Exactly.
Now he just needs to be like take off like a jet plane through the course, hope that Halferty has to make a big dive to try and get the proximity through that back section, perhaps. I think that's where Halferty will be looking to make his attack, but that'll also be where Dean Byrne will be hoping to make his attack, put some pace through it, try and force a mistake from Halferty in the chase position, and see himself into his very first final, pro final here in the Irish Drift Series.
Yeah, for the second time today, Eddie, I have to agree with everything you just said. Yeah, absolutely. He'd have to force his hand here. He's done everything right to put the pressure now on Halferty. Halferty has to make this one his, has to give the judges no decision to make as such here, but that can bring its own set of problems, obviously.
But look, let's not take it for granted. Byrne is going to be feeling the nerves here, okay? This is uncharted territory for him. This is going to be in his mind a lot more than it is in the mind of Halferty. Halferty, a very cool customer behind the wheel, as is Dean Byrne, but he'll certainly be feeling the nerves here as he gets ready to go. Down the straight they come. Halferty holds back, but look at the dive onto the door, straight to the off, right in the rear quarter as he applies the pressure. He goes closer than Byrne. Byrne on the foot brake, trying to just control the forward bite of that car as Halferty comes charging for it once again. Byrne on a perfect wide line, but he just can't shake Halferty. Halferty now makes another big dive, throws it onto angle and keeps himself in it. This is beautiful from Halferty, but Byrne giving him the perfect line to chase as they make the final dive. Oh, Halferty straightens up, makes a dive again. And the error from Halferty right at the end, could that have turned the tide, Mike? But it was near perfection from both drivers all the way through. And we said it was going to be close. We said there wasn't going to be too many mistakes, and there certainly wasn't, but there was moments of brilliance.
Yeah, Ed, moments
The
of
judges are discussing this one, watching it back, just taking the opportunity, Mike, to take in the replay. It was electric. It was a battle worthy of a Final Four.
Yeah, definitely, Eddie. I mean, I'm taking that one in myself, just watching it. A big mistake from Halferty there. You know what, Ed? I think that might be the defining moment. That could be the moment that decides this battle, but was Halferty at a big advantage up to that point? I'm not sure. He's got great proximity around the first corner, though. Look at that. He absolutely pushes Byrne around the first corner, which is a big advantage point, obviously. So the judge is massively rewarding him for the first corner. He gets the proximity around the hairpin once again. Now gets the transition made and gets... Okay, yeah, more or less gets the proximity on the quarter panel of the 180. Swaps him back around again, and here's where the issue happens. Halferty just loses drift there, and it's a big mistake. I would say Halferty up to that point was the man that was going to win it, but then he made the big mistake, Eddie. So it just depends on how big a mistake the judges deem that to be, which will decide this battle.
Yeah, and I mean, it's the only obvious mistake of that run, so it'll really probably come back down to what happened on the first run. And I mean, it wasn't perfect, but there wasn't too many mistakes. So, I mean, could we see this one go one more time, Mike? I think that'd certainly be on the cards, potentially. I wouldn't want to call it.
Yeah.
There we go, and it is a one more time. One more time. Dean Byrne, Stephen Halferty. We said it was going to be close. Mike, it couldn't be closer.
Closer than close, said Rosie Gaines way back in the day. So closer than close, and not enough in it for the judges to call it. We get to see that semi-final all over again, and as Kieran Hines drops his pin with sheer excitement, and I would say Halferty being rewarded there for the sheer aggression and the fantastic chase he had all the way around that lap pretty much, especially in the first corner, but that big mistake then from him pretty much cancelling that out. Judges couldn't separate them, therefore we have to see them go one more time, which I'm sure nobody here in Watergrasshill or at home watching will complain about, because that was a fantastic battle. But we have the man who has blitzed everyone on his way here versus the guy in the borrowed car who maybe looked it out a little bit, Eddie. But
Rode his luck a little bit. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. He's deserved his
he
spot
has deserved
here.
his
He's been
spot
driving
here.
well in
Yes.
this borrowed car, but he's not going to be able to rely on luck here. He's going to have to go for it and hope that he has the ability to take down Harry Kerr. Kerr in the lead position, side by side down the straight. They almost make contact as Kerr initiates, but here comes Garvey. As Garvey washes just a little bit, and now Kerr puts the foot down, and look at the forward bite of this car. He has the grip just dialed into that E46. But here comes the charge of David Garvey as he tries to find some proximity, Mike, but he just can't do it. Harry Kerr is untouchable here in Watergrasshill. Throws it onto the wall. Look at this. Another near perfect lead line. Harry Kerr, eat your heart out. That is delicious.
Harry Kerr, take your position at the top of Irish drifting. Take your seat at the table along with Dwayne McKeever, along with Jack and Conor Shannon, along with James Dean, and back in the day along with Darren McNamara, because this man is for all the world up with those guys, Eddie. Look at this driving from him.
Yeah, I mean, look, find fault in it, Mike. I challenge you, just find fault in anything that Harry Kerr is doing right now, because as far as I'm concerned, he's doing everything that he needs to do. This is probably the most controlled we've ever seen him. He is proof that seat time is irreplaceable.
And having a screw loose as well doesn't hurt.
Yeah, well, he's got more than one screw loose. That
He's
is for
several.
sure. He is.
The Ballymoney Bandit.
Yeah, he is just a wild young guy. And, you know, look, you got to have no real care for your own health and well-being, and he certainly doesn't. He doesn't care about himself. He doesn't care about the
Not a
car.
care,
He just
no.
cares about going as hard as he can and doing as good as he can in competition. And nothing gives him more of a thrill than going out there and banging doors. I mean, you can't do anything but just sit back and applaud it, because it's near perfection. And this is a guy on the top of his game, and it's an absolute pleasure to watch it. We're lucky to be able to witness this, and I'm certainly glad that I'm able to see it here in attendance. 2 years in a row at this track, he has been the standout driver, and it's going to take something really special to beat him. Can David Garvey produce something really special here? It's going to have to be certainly something special in the lead position as well. Here we go, second half of this one. Who's going into the final? serious aggression here from Harry Kerr right from the off as they go side by side through the first corner, down the back straight. He backs up and then makes his move onto the door once again. And I mean, a wheel drop there from Garvey, but he's perfect through that section most of the times through the day. And in a borrowed car, what an effort he has put in here. What a drive that man has given. And look at one more big dive onto the door. Nathan Corcoran. That car is taking a beating, but you know what? I think you can finally breathe a sigh of relief. It's coming home to you in one piece. Guys, give it up for Harry Kerr. Give it up for David Garvey. But what a performance Harry Kerr is putting on. Nothing short of spectacular. It looks like the decision is in. Who's going through to the final? Give it up for Harry Kerr! Harry Kerr moves on to the final. But ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for David Garvey. What a drive in a borrowed car. And a different chassis to what he is used to. But Harry Kerr, well, he's the guy to beat, Mike. No doubt about it. He is the guy to beat.
He is the guy to beat. And I'd like to point out as well, Eddie, that an unusual one slightly for Watergrasshill. As I just wait for Dave Garvey to exit the track. 3 BMWs in the final 4. Interesting statistic.
Yes. Just goes to show the more dominant chassis at the moment, and you know, I think there's a reason why you're starting to see a lot more people use that chassis. But certainly those 3 guys, I mean, even for Garvey to step into, you know, a completely new chassis, borrowed car, and be able to drive the way he's driven today, just shows that that chassis, there's a lot to be said for it. I tried to do it myself at round 2, didn't work.
Yeah, very different to drive. Quite different to drive than a Sylvia. So well done to Dave Garvey. So that means that we will have to see, we will see Dave Garvey go into the 3rd, 4th place playoff. And of course, we are going to go back straight away to the one more time between Dean Byrne and Stephen Halferty.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait for that one as the guys are in the pits, changing tyres, refueling, getting themselves prepared, maybe making adjustments to the setup, you know, dialing a little bit extra grip in, maybe taking a little bit extra out, you wouldn't know, just depending on how they felt the track conditions were. But the sun is back out here in Watergrasshill. It's been a hell of a day. Thank you guys for joining us here in attendance, and anyone watching online around the world. I hope you're enjoying the show. We're certainly enjoying it here, and we're getting ready to find out who are going to take those steps on the podium. We know Harry Kerr is going to take one of them. Will it be first or will it be second? David Garvey, well, he's going to have to battle either Dean Byrne or Halferty to try and take that 3rd spot and that last trophy that's up for grabs. As we see Halferty making his way to the start line, he is ready to go. And will it be him that makes the necessary adjustments to take the spot in the final to go up against Harry Kerr? Or will it be the man that's following him out onto the circuit right now, Dean Byrne, who is putting in, Mike, the drive of his life? He's going to be absolutely buzzing right now. He's going to be feeling it. But will the nerves start to get to him? And I think this is, you know, there's a one more time can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing. Maybe he left his best driving out there, and can he reproduce it? He knows he's got to go better, and he's got to find an extra gear. And sometimes after a long weekend and after a long day, that's not always possible, particularly with the added nerves of, you know, the mind starts to play on you that I have a chance here. I have a chance to take a space in the final, like potentially take the top step, and that's a huge thing for these guys. So, you know, Halferty hasn't won a pro round either here in the Irish Drift Series, so that's going to be a nervous point for him. But I think he's been around that little bit longer. He's a former champion. Well, they're both former champions
of the nationals
of the Pro 2 category.
Yeah.
But I think certainly Halferty probably maybe the cooler customer behind the wheel. Dean Byrne definitely that more explosive style.
Yeah, exactly. It's a battle of 2 styles here. It's consistency versus explosiveness, that's for sure. And very interesting matchup to see which one of those 2 styles comes out victorious. Eddie, we're ready to rock.
We certainly are as they slam through the gears. Oh, Halferty backs out with Mike. Issues with Halferty, fails to initiate. And it just seemed that is just not what we wanted to see. And well, yeah.
Yeah, Stephen Halferty failing to initiate there already. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but you know what?
Yeah,
Dean Byrne is not going to care.
Down in that car, Mike, at all. Dean Byrne, well, you know what? We've seen some people have a little bit of luck, Mike. He won't want to win it like this, but he'll certainly take it.
He will indeed take it. Yeah, it's been a tough day on cars down here in Watergrasshill again. slow sections, fast sections, lots of heat in the cars. Not sure exactly what happened to Halferty, but he's gone into the pits. We will get confirmation if he's calling a 5-minute rule. Yeah, and he is indeed calling a 5-minute rule. So Stephen Halferty calling a 5-minute rule. And I'm not sure exactly what happened there, Eddie. So that is something we will have to relay to you as soon as possible. So it is indeed, just as we called it, it's overheating issues for Stephen Halferty. Overheating issues. These cars, of course, the ECUs can be programmed with safety cutouts in the event of low oil pressure or overboosting or overheating. So possibly there the ECU shutting down the car of Halferty in order to save that expensive 2JZ Toyota turbo 3-litre 6-cylinder engine, and that can sometimes be the offshoot of the safeties in the ECU, puts you out of the battle. So guys, we are just going to give Stephen Halferty his 5 minutes. His timer will start as soon as his pit crew puts hands on that car, and he has 5 minutes in which to leave his pit box. As that happens, we will send you guys to a break, and we will be back in action, hopefully with a Stephen Halferty with a working car in 5 minutes or less.
This is how we do. That's me. That's right. That's me. That's right. That's me. Damn right.
For this one moment and this opportunity. It's a guaranteed podium step, first or second for this man, as Halferty gets out to congratulate him. Give it up for both drivers, Stephen Halferty and Dean Byrne.
Yeah, hopefully Stephen Halferty has a car to compete in the third, fourth place playoff. Might not have by the looks of things. We'll confirm with Stephen there exactly what's happening, but car shutting down there. Stephen, ECU cutting it out. Does he hear me? He doesn't hear me. Too busy chatting with Dean Byrne about the weather. ECU cutting out. Boost cut. Boost cut. Okay, so boost cut cutting it out. So thank you, Stephen. Boost cut cutting it out. And we will see if we will have a car to compete in the third, fourth place playoff.
Yeah, guys,
of course,
once again, give
Stephen
it up.
Halferty after using his 5-minute rule now. So
yeah, and that was his 5-minute rule in the final four as well, Mike. So as you say, no extra time, and he will be expected to get out pretty quickly because David Garvey is already waiting there. We just await to hear, will he be contending for the final or the third, fourth place playoff battle. As he takes a quick look at his tyres.
Yeah, so Dean Byrne after taking the win, and Stephen Halferty making the universal. I'm not sure, Simon.
Yeah, he says, I'm going to have to take a look at it. So, he can probably go back into the pits. But we can confirm going through to the final. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up one more time for Dean Byrne, his very first final, where he will take on Harry Kerr. And, well, that is going to be an absolute banger, because you know what? Them boys, they've gone 15 rounds so far today. It's going to come down to one final round. Who's going to land the knockout blow? Will it be Harry Kerr or will it be Dean Byrne? I wouldn't want to be making a call on it, Mike, because both drivers have driven the wheels off their respective cars this weekend.
They have indeed, but like we called it there, Eddie, a while back, Harry Kerr looks like an unstoppable force at the moment, but Dean Byrne has been so consistent. You know, Eddie, he's been getting better and better. He's been getting up there consistently over the last couple of seasons, and this is his reward. He now has a trophy no matter what happens.
Yeah, look, it's an unstoppable force versus an immovable object, certainly based on today's driving. You have to think, though, that for Dean Byrne, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he can take the top step, but he is going to have to drive like he's never driven before. It's going to take every ounce of him, because he's never been this far before. He's never been in the mix, but this is business as usual here for Harry Kerr. Harry Kerr has taken down the likes of Dwayne McKeever. He's battled with the Shanahans. He's used to all of this. Dean Byrne, this is uncharted territory. It's new waters. Yes, he's capable of it, Mike, but he's going to have to compose himself, and it's going to take every little bit of experience that he has gained throughout his career. He's going to have to be perfect.
He's going to have to be absolutely perfect, Eddie. Exactly, yeah. I would say that the odds are stacked in the favour of Kerr based on experience alone. He's been here before. He's been in several finals, but over here in Scotland, of course, competing in the Oman International Drift Championship as well this season. And as you mentioned there, Eddie, I believe driving a borrowed car at round one as a result, because his car wasn't home. I mean, imagine where he would be in the championship now had he had his own car for round one. So crazy stuff here from Harry Kerr this season, possibly taking his seat at the throne, taking the throne of Irish drifting.
At the elite table of Irish drifting, yeah. It's like the champions dinner at Augusta in golf. You know, you're not allowed you're not allowed to enter the conversation until you've passed certain milestones and marks. And you know what? He may not be quite there yet, but he's certainly working his way step by step towards that conversation of, is he up there with the best in Irish drifting?
He can drive as good as any one of them on his day, Eddie. His day isn't every day. See, the thing with Harry Kerr is, okay, he always had this in him with the last couple of years at least, but he always had the mistakes in him as well. But we're not seeing those mistakes lately. That's the difference.
Yeah, well, we talk about, with so many drivers, Mike, about the controlled aggression, and nobody, I think it's fair to say there's few drivers, if any, that are more aggressive in terms of their style than Harry Kerr. But he is now starting to control that aggression. He's reeling it back in, not going over aggressive when he doesn't need to, but still manages to, put in an aggressive chase run, even when he has a big advantage from the first half of a battle. But it looks more aggressive than it is. It's probably still like a 95% for him, but he's not going. He's in his comfort zone, so to speak, and not having to really overstretch to still put in such proximity. And I don't know. It's just it's crazy to watch. And as we say, we're watching somebody really grow and develop as a driver into a top tier competitor. And it's just a pleasure to be here along the ride to witness it.
It is indeed, Ed. Yeah, it is indeed. So we are just we just speak with our track controller Sean Healy just to double check if Stephen Halferty can get a working car for the podium battle, the third, fourth place playoff between himself and David Garvey. Boost cut. He yelled up at us here in the tower, and of course, once again, these ECUs programmed to cut the engine if certain parameters are exceeded, be it water temperature, boost pressure, oil pressure, etc., etc. And Stephen Halferty overboosted there. You did mention, Eddie, there was a big backfire as well. We saw it coming up the straight at a gear change. It just seemed to overboost. Big backfire. That was probably the ECU cutting the engine there at that stage. And yeah, lots of abuse on the cars down here in Watergrasshill. But hopefully we can get a working car out. And if not, David Garvey will, by default, take third place on the podium. So we're just hearing from Sean Healy, our track controller, that Stephen Halferty is indeed just getting into his car. So not sure if that car is working or not. Not sure if they've sorted out the boost issues or not, but he is getting into his car, and we are going to at least get off the line for a third, fourth place playoff.
Yeah, so nervous wait here for David Garvey, but you know what? I think he's made quite a comeback to competitive drifting after being out of the seat for quite a number of years, Mike. And you know, a lot of the attention was taken off David Garvey with the rise of his younger brother Dylan stealing the headlines, and again another guy who was in the conversation as one of the elite drivers in Ireland, and of course he's had his crack at Drift Masters. He'll be hoping to return to that. Currently undergoing a fresh build, and we await patiently to see him back on the grid. But he's another guy that you can put into that conversation of some of the elite drivers in Ireland, and we really are blessed to have such talent here in this country, because no matter where they go around the world, they are competitive and very often, taking home championships. And we're a little bit spoiled in terms of nations.
Yeah, so just getting into some of the comments on the live stream as we're having some downtime. Vision mentions that it'll be interesting to see the wildcards for Driftmasters in Mondello. Plenty of talent on display here this weekend, that's for sure, Eddie. And of course we will have Driftmasters in Mondello Park in just a couple of weekends' time, as well as that crazy Red Bull Drift Pursuit event in Spike Island in Cork. I believe the week after, if memory serves me correctly. So it's a good point there in the comments. Couple of wildcards always. We'll see Irish wildcards, plenty of talent on display here, and none of these guys would look out of place on the Driftmasters grid. In fact, Dave Garvey out here in front of us actually competed in Finland last weekend and almost qualified, not quite there, second day out in the new car, but definitely did himself proud.
Yeah, and I mean, if you remember, if you were watching that event, I mean, one of the highest scoring qualifying sessions probably ever witnessed in drifting. The competition was absolutely crazy. So, to get in, I think the top 21 drivers had scored 90 or above. Like, it was really just something absolutely out of this world. So it looks as though Stephen Halferty has that car back running, able to warm the tires. We are almost ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. 2 battles remaining. We're going to kick off with the third, fourth place playoff battle between Stephen Halferty and David Garvey. Garvey, of course, as we've mentioned, in the borrowed car. Halferty, well, he's battling with mechanical issues. Can he get 2 clean passes of the circuit and take that third step on the podium, or will Garvey take the borrowed car all the way? Here we go. Halferty opens up the gap here on the run-in. Washes just a little bit wide, but as does Garvey, and Garvey starts to lose some ground here now as Halferty puts foot to floor, opens up a big gap, and so far, no answer, but there's big wheel drops here from Stephen Halferty as he goes at least 2 wheels off there. But the lack of proximity here from Garvey, maybe making light of the errors here in the lead position from Halferty. Halferty almost has to reinitiate there as he just stops up on that final corner, but not too big a mistake as Garvey comes in behind. And you know what, Garvey maybe just lacking the proximity, but Halferty with some errors of his own, missing inside zone 2, wheels off as he came by the second hairpin. Well, Mike, it's had it all today. It really has. And, these 4 drivers have earned their position. In particular, these 2 guys have fought tooth and nail as well. And, only one of them is going to go home with some silverware, which is a real shame because they've both earned some champagne after such a hard-fought day. It has been exhausting, but it's been exhilarating.
It has been exhilarating, yeah. It has been exhausting, Eddie. It's been a huge... it's been an event with a huge amount of drama in it, to be honest, and very entertaining all the way along from qualifying to the present moment. And once again, Dave Garvey doing great there, just so impressive in a borrowed car to still be in competition at this stage. It's absolutely crazy stuff, and not alone a borrowed car, but a completely different chassis in the form of an E46 versus the S13 that he's usually found driving. So well done to him. But now, you know what, Eddie? This is it. This is the last podium spot.
As our Red Bull tent falls down. You couldn't write it.
We need some Red Bull to give somebody wings to get head up.
Mike.
Gotcha.
You got there before me.
Got there before you, Eddie.
So the generator's probably run out of petrol, Mike. It's been that long of a day here.
Yeah.
And, we've been treated to look at credit to our marshals. Every one of them sprinting to try and get this resolved straight away. And guys, give them a round of applause after 3 days of standing out there on that track in heavy rain, hard wind, sunshine. They're battling with, sunstroke, some of them. They've been in the pub. They've been battling it all.
They were. I seen them last night. I copped them last night. I was keeping tabs on them. So I'm not sure if they're trying to reinflate it or what's the situation, but yeah, so they are reinflating it, that's for sure.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we will take a moment just to try and get this sorted. Bull float there, okay, but we've got our start line back up and running, and it is the final run of this 3rd and 4th place playoff battle. Errors from both drivers, you'll remember, Mike, from the first run of this one. Well, we're going to switch them around, and we are going to find out which driver takes that 3rd step on the podium. Will it be David Garvey in that borrowed car? Will it be Halferty in the mechanical issue plagued E36 here? He'll be hoping for no problems. Just one more run is all he needs to accomplish here as they go side by side down the straight. Garvey throws it in. Halferty right on the rear quarter, hard on the brakes to try and avoid making contact, and back on the power he goes as Garvey starts to pull a gap. And no, Stephen Halferty shuts it down once more, Mike. Heartbreak for Halferty.
Heartbreak for Halferty and jubilation for Garvey. Garvey doing everything he needs to do, Eddie, in this battle in order to take the podium. And they say, Eddie, in order to finish first you have to finish. So that one pretty much writing itself, Eddie. We don't give the results of the 3rd, 4th place until the podium. We will make that one official on the podium, guys. But give it up for David Garvey and Stephen Halferty. Thank you, guys. And Stephen Halferty risking his engine pretty much to get back out. That's how much the podium means to him. Big round of applause once again, guys, for Halferty risking his engine and getting the run in, but unfortunately for him, just not enough in the tank in that car there. Not in terms of fuel, Eddie, but just not enough.
Just couldn't. With the little engine that chugged, and unfortunately, just ran out of steam. So we are ready to go with our final. And sitting on the line, well, it's one man that it's no stranger to. Harry Kerr in the lead position. He qualified in 7th position, a little bit further down the order than he would have liked, but he sits now ready to take on Dean Byrne in the final. Dean Byrne qualifying down in 16th, but then it just came alive for him. He has been nothing short of spectacular. A slight bit of luck in his final 4 battle against Stephen Halferty, but luck that he was well justified in getting. He has driven the wheels off this 180SX, and it's one more hurdle, one more obstacle in his way to take down the thing that he has been dreaming about most for the last number of years, which is the top step of an IDS Pro round. He only has one man to go through, but unfortunately for him, that one man is Harry Kerr. Here we go, the final of round 3. Harry Kerr to lead them in. They almost make contact down the straight as Dean Byrne goes super aggressive, finds himself on the inside line, kicks up some dirt as Harry Kerr does everything he can to try and pull a gap down the back straight. But here comes the dive and the charge from Dean Byrne once more. Beautiful line from Harry Kerr, but he doesn't go as deep as he's gone into those outer zones as he had in the past throughout the day. And he just cannot shake the charge of Dean Byrne, who's right on the door, makes a big dive one final time. Watergrasshill as they cross the line. Give it up for Harry Kerr and Dean Byrne. And this one, Mike, is very much alive going into the second run.
It's very much alive, Eddie. Dean Byrne ripping up the form book there. We we tipped Harry Kerr to be the favourite here, but has that been flipped on its head? What a great chase here from Dean Byrne into 180. Like Harry Kerr doing a Harry Kerr lead. Tiny bit shy from 5 there, as you mentioned, Eddie. So not a perfect lead either. Not a bad run by any means, but not the 90-something points he's been putting in time after time here. Byrne right there with him on the 180. Maybe not physically making contact with him, which is what we expect Kerr to be doing, but certainly keeping himself in the conversation. And I'm going to say, Eddie, that's a 5-5, maybe even possibly tiny advantage to the chase car there.
Yeah, you could be looking easily at a 6-4 potentially to Dean Byrne there with the, and I mean, we're talking about small errors, but you know, wide on inside clip 2, you know, not fully into outer zone 6.
Yeah, 5 yeah, the
Yes,
end of the hairpin there, yeah.
You know, so
Whichever one it is.
yeah, which it's one of them.
It's one of them.
It's one of them. One of those white boxes on the ground.
Kind
but
of half missed one of them.
yeah, and I mean, we're picking hairs here, but it hasn't been as perfect as it has been. And Dean Byrne has a shot. Harry Kerr has to go full Harry Kerr here, and
He has to do a Harry Kerr.
yeah, he has to do. There's no holding back on this one. If he wants to take that top spot, he has to quite literally drive through Dean Byrne here, and I know he's prepared to do it, Mike.
He is prepared to do it. He was about 40-something points back in the championship, and should he win this event, he goes from getting 85 points for second to 100 points for first and a couple of qualifying points as well. So he really wants those extra 15 points as well in order to get up to the top of this championship. But Watergrasshill, we're ready to rock for the last run of the day. You ready?
Here we go, Dean Byrne to lead in Harry Kerr, the final run of the day. Byrne giving it everything he can, faster than he's been all day, but look at this from Harry Kerr, glued to the rear quarter of that 180SX as they go as hard as they can down that back straight. Big dive from Harry Kerr. Can he make it work? He certainly can. But look at the line from Dean Byrne on the drive of his life. But he just can't shake Harry Kerr, who's all over the rear quarter. Watergrasshill as they make one final dive onto the door, wheel to wheel. Look at this from Harry Kerr and Dean Byrne. What a show. Wow. Watergrasshill raised the roof for two absolute gladiators, giving it all. Mike,
Wow.
I'm worn out. I haven't got an ounce of energy left.
Eddie,
What a spectacle.
take a breath for yourself there, man. That was absolutely crazy, and I don't know what to say, Eddie. It's my job to say something, but I'm genuinely lost for words. Harry Kerr doing a Harry Kerr. Look at this over the finish line, literally pushing the 180SX of Dean Byrne across the finish line, going full ham, full
Mike.
commitment, going crazy.
Sometimes there are no words for just how good it can be, and that is one of those moments. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, give it up for Harry Kerr and Dean Byrne, your two finalists, just leaving no stone unturned. What a performance.
What a performance. So guys, we do have a decision. We will be joining you down on the podium in just a couple of minutes time here at IDS round 3 in Watergrasshill for pro competition, pro podium. It's going to be champagne showers, it's going to be celebrations. Make sure to make your way down onto the track, get up and close with the cars, get up and close with the podium, and it's going to be an exciting one, guys. We will see you in a couple of minutes time here for the podium of IDS round 3 2025. Thank you, guys.
This is how we do. That's me. That's right. That's me. That's right. That's me. Damn right.
here for pro competition in Watergrasshill. Thank you all guys so much. It was a long top 32 and it's been a long weekend with a lot of drifting and a lot of hard battles. So massive well done to all the drivers and crews, and thank you so much to all the spectators, both on live stream and more importantly here in the flesh, for supporting IDS and Irish drifting. So just before we get to the podium outright, we have brought in a new award in IDS called the Hard Charger Award. We awarded it in Bishop's Court already at the last round, and we've just brought it in to reward the driver who captured the crowd's imagination over the weekend, who drove so hard all weekend and basically put on a show for the crowd and took it to 10 tenths throughout the battles. And the judges have awarded the Hard Charger for IDS Round 3 2025 to Matt Darren. Possibly gone home. He's got BMWs to fix tomorrow, so we'll get Matt his trophy, and that makes gets us on to the podium outright. So I'll just get out the results to make sure I don't make a mess of it, which is quite possible at this stage of the day. So in fourth position, guys, at IDS Round 3 2025, taken out unfortunately by mechanical issues, but let's hear it for the one and only Stephen Halferty. We couldn't afford a model, so Tomas Falvis give you out the checks. Which must mean, guys, in third position, and we have to give Nathan Corcoran props for this as well, for lending his BMW. Let's hear it, guys. Driving the wheels off the borrowed car, it's David Garvey! Congratulations, Dave. Fantastic drive. Unbelievable stuff in a borrowed car. So, guys, we saw two drivers, and I think you'll agree on both sides of the battle bracket. The guys who deserved to be there actually ended up in the final. On the left-hand side, we had Dean Byrne, and charging hard through the right-hand side, we had Harry Kerr. They beat all that came before them to end up in the final together, and they treated us to a fantastic final worthy of any pro competition here in Watergrasshill that we've seen over the years in Irish drifting. And I can announce in second position, and I want to hear a huge round of applause. His first time taking second position, it's Dean Byrne takes second position. Congratulations once again, Dean. Fantastic drive, and a man getting better and better every event that we see, and I'm sure it's not the last time we'll see him on the IDS podium. And as the lads get ready with the champagne, guys, we all saw it coming. He's a new superstar being born right in front of our eyes. It's the Ballymoney Bandit, your winner for IDS Round 3. It's Harry Kerr! Guys, once again, fantastic weekends drifting, fantastic days drifting. Thank you all so much for being in attendance. Massive congrats to all the podium standers, and we will see you after the summer break back in IDS, back up in Bishop's Court for round 4 of the Irish Drift Series.
This is how we do.